Hello and welcome. I'm Avery Gregan, and I'm here for another stream. So this one's going to be a little bit shorter because I have some things to get to after this, and also I'm just trying to conserve my voice. But I figured that this would be a perfect chance to go over an idea I had in an idea somebody had in the Discord, actually. By the way, if you're not a part of it, go ahead and join that Discord server. I'll leave the link in the description. But I wanted to go through my anime list, my MAL, and just kind of go through the list. I think there's a little over 100 of them there. Now, this is not necessarily exhaustive. I actually I made the MAL pretty much years after I watched most of those shows. So both the shows themselves and the rankings I have for them, the ratings I have for them are well, they're based on quite a bit of let's just say they're based on hindsight. So, due to my terrible memory, I don't remember a lot of most of the shows I've seen. It's like the famous adage goes, people remember not what you said, what you told them, but how they made you feel. And that's mainly what I'm basing them off, but I'll go into the full details of what I'm actually I won't be able to go into the details of what I'm sorry, my brain just blinked. I'll go into the details in a little bit of what I did the rankings for each one. Uh, After I give a little bit of time for some more people to join if they haven't already. In the meantime, looks like we've got Alex and some known here. Oh, Alex, with sad news to say, I don't think I'll be able to be a part of the Saturday streams for a long time. They moved me to an early evening time slot on Saturdays. Oh, that's a shame to hear, Alex. And that is actually a good point, though. One thing I did mean to bring up here, and I'll probably also bring it up in the post and on Discord, is I realized that I've kind of just been sticking with these Saturday things because that was kind of what the first one I did, but I haven't really gauged the room and see what people would prefer. So, uh, since my schedule is a lot more malleable than I think a lot of people's, I'm more than welcome to be open to like changing this to either a different part of the day or a different day entirely. It probably would be Saturday or Sunday just because that makes the most sense. But yeah, I'll have to make a post about that, or maybe I'll make a whole video about it because for some reason only a fraction of my audience seems to actually read the posts, which I guess is kind of normal. Uh, YouTube's always been pretty bad at showing posts to subscribers. Like it struggles showing videos to subscribers a lot of the time. So yeah, so look out for that. I'll probably just make that a video just so people can see it, or maybe I'll just do a post because whatever. Gauge enough of the room. We've got Luke Aferul, Lucia Ferrul. Seems the YouTube notifications work properly for one. So awesome. Well, glad you could join. And it looks like someone else who hasn't been joining is Mr. Light. Looks like he's here live finally, which is awesome. I knew something was missing, so we were missing the light. But now that you're here, it's gonna be a good stream. Oh, and he's Max Codard now. I'm still waiting on him to actually start the stream in proper, so hopefully he'll be able to make it. So yeah, I'm gonna be going over the my anime list, the MAL, and I'll basically go over the rules, and I'll just be describing like how I rank basically each number, what each number means to me, because I guess I'll just start getting into it now. One of the big reasons I wanted to do this, I wanted to stream this, is because I wanted to share my thoughts on rating anime and on different scales that people use, and the very large and overused words of subjectivity and objectivity. I don't think I'm blowing anyone's minds to say that it's kind of a work of futility to try to objectively rank anime and try to say this anime is objectively the best. That's pretty obvious, right? Anime is art, and art is subjective. There are certain things about anime that are a little bit less so. That like there are clearly some parts of anime, like writing, like cinematography. There are things that are, while on a spectrum, are generally better than other things, but those are mostly formed by our opinions, right? By the people around us and what we've decided is good. Now, when it comes to comparing like which show is better quality, just like SAO versus AOT, Sword Art Online versus Attack on Titan, it gets a little easier to say which show is better than the other one, even if you prefer one or over the other. But even then, like, even if you could say this anime is better than that one, even if you could apply the objective label to it, I would like to posit you this. What's the point? What have you accomplished deciding and proclaiming that Attack on Titan is objectively better than Sword Art Online? Because from how I see it, the only thing you've managed to do is alienate people who just liked SAO more, just spoke to them more. And also you're invalidating the opinions of people who didn't necessarily like AOT. Now, this is from a macro lens, right? I'm talking about why I don't see the value in saying this show is objectively better than the other one. Once you start getting into the weeds of it a little bit and you start saying like, this show has better writing because X, Y, and Z, or SAO struggles more in animation because of this scene, that is more constructive criticism, right? Those are both setting good and bad examples that people can use, and it's actually something relevant, right? It's actually something helpful. The issue is when you try to extrapolate that to the entire anime and you say, this show is better. Now, are there tasteful ways of doing that? Like all things, yes. You can say Attack on Titan, I believe, is the objectively best show to ever exist because X, Y, and Z. I would be more than happy to do that at some point because I truly love AOT. But unless you are explicitly going out of your way to be constructive about it, in most circumstances, particularly the ones that are mostly used in like online public discourse, I just don't see the value in standing on my soapbox and saying Mob Psycho is the greatest anime ever to exist. Even though it's true and I'm right, like, okay, cool. Like, the only real reason I can see for somebody wanting to say something like that is to try to convince other people to watch it. And there are much better ways you can do that, right? So that's kind of my stance there. I don't really see the point in comparing objective anime, which is why when I created my MAL and when I was editing it earlier today, I decided that I would shift up the rankings a little bit because a lot of them were ranked on my admittedly limited knowledge on like the objective standpoints of, or the more objective aspects of these anime. Like whether the writing was good, whether it was well directed, whether the production company let them have free reign over it. These little things that like the closest thing I could find to what is an objectively good show, that's kind of how I base my rankings. And I think that's how most people base their MALs or just their anime lists if they don't have MAL. And I'm not going to say that's wrong. Of course not, right? Because even thinking something is objective is your subjective opinion, and opinions are almost never wrong. So I'm not saying that it's wrong, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that. What I am saying is that I think the way that I have organized my list, and especially since I am I guess technically a social media influencer, I think my list has a lot more value to offer when the actual rankings have something to say about the show and speak to the show and speak to something that is uniquely mine that you can't really get from another list. So on that topic, I have personalized my list. I have ranked it, and sorry for not having visual here. I didn't really have time to put it together. I should really do more preparation before these streams beforehand. But I have decided to rank it in a way that is explicitly personal to me and yet maximally useful to you, I suppose, valuable to you. Because I think that is the greatest value you can get from ranking and rating anime, like on a scale of 1 to 10, the greatest value you can provide to the community is providing your subjective opinion in a constructive way. Because it's that subjectivity that is the most useful to other people because they don't have it, right? They don't have your specific flavor of subjectivity. They only have theirs and maybe little bits and pieces from what they've heard from other people. So that's basically where I am. I'm going to share my subjective opinion with a little bit of touch of objectivity. Like, there's going to be some shows that would be ranked lower due to my rating, but I can't justify rating them lower than a certain level, so they'll kind of be lifted back above a certain point, because it's like, yes, I do have to recognize this is just a really good show, even though it didn't speak to me, and I don't really care for it, so it'll be raised like that. So it's a lot of murkiness. It's a very, it's not even a gray line, it's just a gray world. And you'll see that soon enough when we actually get into the rankings and I start talking about them. So I'm just going to take a quick moment here. Give me one moment, and then we'll just go ahead and get started. Just going to move around a few things. Also, I was trying to figure out earlier how to make it so OBS only records a specific window. Like, so it only records my Google Chrome instead of like OBS and all these other things in my entire display. I tried to switch it to like a window capture. I don't know if anyone here knows anything about it, but for some reason it's only recognizing OBS as a window. Like, I guess this part I can share. I don't know if anyone here has used has used OBS or can comment on it, but like, if you see it here, I'm looking at the pip here, and when I go into the properties, it's obviously on display, so it just kind of goes wherever my display goes. When I go to applications, it only has OBS. When I go to window, which seems like the most useful one, it only has like the little indicators of OBS because for some reason they're different, and it only has OBS. So if anyone here actually like knows why I can't capture any window other than OBS, I guess let me know. I'll have to figure out in the meantime, but it's a little bit unfortunate because I can't just leave you guys on Mal while I like go check the comments here, and I only have one display, so you're gonna have to bear with me as I like swipe between Mal and swipe between here to read the comments. But you know what? It's the technical difficulties that this channel wouldn't be the same without. So, oh, I need to change this back actually. Otherwise, you won't be able to see my Mal at all, and that won't be any good at all. Sure, let's do the cursor too. I would say that most people are subjective when rating series, but over time they become more objective if they have the opportunity to watch them again. As everyone knows that Shin-chan is the best show. Otherwise, why would it still be on the air? I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to with Shin-chan. I might just be blanking there. But that is great logic. It has to be the best show. Otherwise, why is it still here, right? I'm just getting war flashbacks of all the shows that haven't gotten continuations, like No Game No Life, that are just really good shows. And let's just say less tasteful shows that are getting continuations anyways. But yeah, absolutely, Alex. And as for your first comment, that's an interesting take. Most people are subjective, but over time they become more objective if they have the opportunity to watch them again. I think to a large degree, I agree with you. I think that the more you watch something and the more you like mull it over, the more objective you become. Obviously, using that term very loosely. because just the more you start to analyze it, right, and the more you start to appreciate it for the things that are less of an art and more of a science, because that's really the push and pull, right? That's the game we're playing here. There's the people who, I mean, there's the push and pull of subjectivity and objectivity, and the more, no, sorry, not that. It's art versus science, right? Those are the two sides of academic discipline, if you would say. And objectivity is more on the science side, subjectivity more on the art side, right? So I guess depending on whether you look at the show as more of an art or science, that will generally show like whether you are, how much of each you are, and whether you consider your take objective or subjective. Obviously that's a slippery slope, and that's why I say, like, despite there being very technical things like say animation or like writing that are more, writing is more of an art, but things like animation that are more of a science than an art, I don't want to say, I hesitate to say that just because you are looking at those aspects of a show that makes your take more objective. I would just say it makes it less subjective. So it's a spectrum where there's only one side. There's subjective and there's less subjective, I would say. Because I feel, I don't quite feel comfortable including the objective on that scale, because obviously you can't be objective, right? I mean, you could even argue our reality isn't objective, but that's a whole nother stream for another day. And in the meantime, we've got Ketch here, and we've got Max Godard, who is not home yet, so he can't stay for now. Hello. Hope you'll still be here, or you get home while we're still on this thing. This is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter stream, depending on how much I linger on each of the shows and what people have to say about these things. It may be longer or shorter, but I anticipate this being a little bit of a shorter stream, just because I have other things to get to after this and I can't spend all my energy here. But also I felt like this was a great thing to discuss and to go over, so a shorter stream is probably perfect for this. Clearly I don't know my audience, because I'm sure that there is some dramatic laugh track playing over this entire monologue I'm doing. And yes, Max Godard, technical difficulties have sort of happened. I guess technically they happened before it started. I did actually start broadcast this time, so you guys didn't get to not sit there for 17 minutes of me talking to myself. But there are certain technical difficulties I was having before starting going live that I just decided, screw it, I'll deal with it later. Mainly, in case you weren't here for that, I just don't know how to only capture like this right here. I don't know how to only capture one window, because for some reason, the only window that matters to OBS is OBS. And the same thing goes for applications. So I don't know how to do that. So display capture we will stick to, and you guys are just gonna have to bear with me as I go whoop, 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 whoop. And one day maybe I'll be able to fix that. Other than that though, no technical difficulties yet. Somehow, though that makes me a little bit concerned for the future of this live stream. I don't really like the term subjective and objective when discussing shows. Basically, everything is subjective, even most of science. Instead of objective, I would probably say critical. Alex agrees, and I agree as well, somehow, and I think that's a great way to put it. It's a scale not of subjectivity to objectivity, of subjectivity to, I suppose, criticality. I think that's a different thing entirely, but yeah, exactly. Everything is subjective. I mean, you could argue to a point your own reality is subjective, but like I said, depending on where you fall, where your analysis falls in the scheme, in the spectrum of art to science, whether anime is more of an art or a science, I would say, yeah, it becomes more or less critical. And yeah, you could theoretically say that things like animation, things that are less art and more science, are also subjective. But I do think the more you look at a show and a piece of media as science, not art, the less subjective you tend to be. And the more you look at it as an art than a science, the harder it is to be less subjective, if that makes sense. Perhaps not even subjective on the scale. Subjectivity is the scale. Yeah, exactly, Sumknown. It is just the scale of subjectivity. Objectivity has no place there. Not with our monkey human brains. Subjectivity has no place on our scale. I'm pretty science coded, so the word objective to me is very strict. Yeah, agreed with that. I absolutely agree with it. I think there are very few, if anything, that us as flesh and blood little humans, um, there's very little, if anything, that we can really call objective. But again, that's getting into some philosophical / science stuff, and I don't think the stream is quite long enough for that. Objectivity is often used to just say neutral, which is also an overused term, in my opinion. I agree with that, Mr. Light. Because just like objectivity, you can't really be neutral, right? At least not when saying, like, you can't go into something without biases, because you can't just not have biases. You have opinions, you have perspective, and you can't really just shut that off. That's not really a thing that people are able to do. And like a lot of things, the more you think you're able to do it, or the more you think you are the exception, the more vulnerable you are to not being the exception, right? Being the furthest thing, to actually falling deeper into it. The further from the scale you think you are, generally, the deeper into it you actually are. An example I like to use for this is like crime. The interesting thing about a lot of like crimes that happen, especially I'm blanking on the term, but like person to person crimes, is that most of the people who like commit crimes against other people don't really consider themselves as a bad guy. They don't really consider themselves capable of doing this sort of thing until they actually end up doing it. And sometimes even as you're doing it, like, there's this cognitive dissonance, and I find that the more people think themselves incapable of a certain action, the more vulnerable they are to engaging in that action and just allowing that cognitive dissonance to spread. Whereas if you acknowledge that you're like capable, like, yes, I am capable of robbing a bank, I am capable of getting into a fight, I am capable of doing things I can't mention on YouTube, the more you acknowledge your capacity to do those things, the less likely it is to sneak up on you. The more likely you are going to be able to rail against it and not basically fall prey to it. So the same thing goes with bias, right? The more you acknowledge your capacity and your active participation in bias, ironically, the less subjective your takes become, because you don't fall victim to the subconscious biases once you acknowledge them, right? Which is why I started the stream with a full acknowledgement that this is going to be very biased. I'm not even going to pretend or feign objectivity, and I'm going to instead lean into it because I think that's where the most value of my take comes from. It is the uniquely subjective perspective I have on these shows that is the most valuable to you, because it's something you can't get from anyone but me. If animation was the prerequisite for quality anime, I'd be recommending Solo Leveling, so it definitely isn't. Yeah, there's more to a good show than good animation, right? I mean, I hesitate to include Demon Slayer. I think pretty much anybody who like engages at all critically with shows can say Demon Slayer, the best thing about it is its animation, which is also kind of depressing and speaks to a lot about the manga. But at the same time, I don't want to include it because there's a lot more to Demon Slayer than its animation. So yeah, agreed with an asterisk to my addendum to that statement. Mascot Art, how's traveling been going? Yeah, I'm traveling here and there. I was in Chicago for a little while just to bring some more of my stuff back home to California because I am moving back here, short to midterm, potentially long term, but I've got a lot of my stuff back here now, so I can stay here for a little bit longer. So I'm not living out of a briefcase, or not a briefcase, but I'm not living out of a suitcase anymore. And as you can see, I've got my jackets back and I've got my pocket squares back. So I'm still wearing my polos, but I get to dress a little bit better now. So, and I am feeling a little bit better too. But the other bit of traveling is actually sometime next week. I'm going to be moving over because right now I'm living with my parents. Well, I'm living with my mom and stepdad. But I'll be moving over to my dad's place, a much quieter place and a much more open space that I can like record and do things, not worry about people coming in and out. So that's the main moving I'll be doing next week, and why my schedule won't quite settle down until after that, pretty much. And also this background of this may be the last time you see it, though I think I'll be able to record a JJK before I leave. So you won't be seeing this one too much longer, which is kind of a shame because I've kind of grown to like it. It's kind of a nice backdrop, but we'll see what I can find at the new house. Anyways, yeah, those are my tales of why things are busy and why I haven't uploaded JJK in 2 weeks. Even if you have a lot of people rate a show as bad, that is a statistical opinion and not objective. People have a big tendency to use statistics wrong. My opinion about Wistoria is 100% objective, though. If 360 comments in total can't be objective, then nothing is. Exactly, Somknown, you completely get it. If we all cross the street at once, it's not scary. They can't possibly arrest all of us. Mob mentality, right? If we all say something is true, then it's true. And I say that kind of mockingly, but it's also kind of, there's some truth to it, right? You could argue that our very reality is true because all of us have collectively agreed approximately that it's true. You could say our morals is a similar way, culture is a similar way. We've all kind of just agreed that these things are objective, so they're, for all intents and purposes, that they are objective. Objective with like 17 asterisks at the end of it, obviously. And all the small text of being a human and the notes that no matter how many people there are, we are all just little subjective creatures. Somknown beats Wistoria up over its flaws harder than Yuji beat Mahito. And that's true love, though, right? True love and true hatred. If you truly love a show or if you truly hate a show, in both cases, you should be more than able to absolutely beat the living crap out of it for its errors. With like the sole exception being Mob Psycho, because there is nobody who is not Psycho who could point out like any serious flaws about it. Ah, yes, and of course the third one, pure neutrality. There you go. No love, no hatred, just duty, just a cog. Doing what has to be done. I haven't actually I don't really know anything about Wistoria. I've seen its name around, but I haven't watched it or like heard anything about it. So I can't really comment. I can't even play a part in the culture wars about whether it's like clowned on or whether it's beloved. I think people like it, but I know basically nothing about it. So I should probably do what basically nobody does and not comment on something I'm not educated on. It ping-ponged between potentially good and somewhat bad to the point it got me mad. Story is fairly good. So it's frustrating is what I'm hearing. It could be so much more, but it's just not. Those are some of the worst shows because they're not actually that bad, but they just refuse to be so much more. I hate those shows so much. Those ones are the absolute worst. Especially when they have like one episode that's just really, really good for no reason, and then it just goes back down to being like disappointing. I think that's my take on like Demon Slayer for the most part. Like it has some really good concepts and some really good episodes. And apparently, like Wistoria, it's just too shonen. It just struggles and it's just so frustrating. And I wish I could just be the writer for it and just try to fix it. And like be like, oh, but if you just did this, it'd be better. Just give me the reins, please, please. I swear I won't mess it up. I can do better, right? This time will be different. But you just have to kind of watch it do its own thing. Can't control it, so no point worrying about it, right? Oh, Jeez, Hax is also here for the Wistoria slander. Jeez. Who wouldn't want to be an editor of authors of these works? Alex? Oh, I wouldn't want to be an editor per se. I think I'd rather just be the author. Just give me the rights to the story and I'll write it. I don't know if I want to take part in the author editor ecosystem, especially in Japan. I hear that's a little bit messy. Oh, though I guess if we're adding culture into it, I probably wouldn't want to be an author either, but there's just no winning, is there? If I can't get some of it, I don't want any of it. It's all or nothing. It's the only thinking that matters. I wouldn't want to be Gege's first editor. That was so bad. He got slammed in several extras. Yeah. I don't know any specifics myself, but I just hear like horror stories and just all these different tales about authors and editors and like them getting into beef or them having disagreements. There's the occasional wholesome one where like the editor like just starts crying when they read over what the author has written, and those are always so much fun to read, but there's just so much drama. There's so much drama. I don't know if I'd want to live in that ecosystem. All right. We're 32 minutes into it. This feels a little ridiculous after not actually like getting into the content of the stream. I'm going to get into a second, but since we still have the whole list to go through, I'm going to take a quick restroom break, and then I'm going to actually get into it. And I'll explain the rules now that we got more people here, and we'll just start going from there. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I'll get some water too. All right. All right, I've got my water. Looks like you guys have your Ooh. Problem with some editors is that they're more concerned with what the publishing house might like rather than helping to guide the author's ideas. Which is a shame, but it's also difficult to blame them, right? I mean, at the end of the day, as much as we don't like to admit it, it isn't while these works are art, they're also a business. And you do have to worry about what the publishing house likes, right? You have to worry about what the audience likes, and you have to worry about all these different things that it would just be better if it like didn't have any part in it, but we wouldn't really have much of a society if that stuff wasn't a concern. Which is the eternal struggle, right, between business and art. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and explain the rules per se, and then we'll just start getting into it. And I'll just check back in here to see how what people are thinking, see if they have some ideas. Probably after every rating. Obviously, on if you're not familiar, Mao is rated on from 1 to 10. You can rate each show, and I have them organized by rating. So we'll go from the bottom to the top. There's going to be some of them that don't have any ratings on them, like a handful at the top. These are just ones that I'll explain when I get there. But basically, how I'm going to be doing these ratings is I am rating them based on the impact they've had on me, as well as a plethora of other things, such as how many like flaws they have, whether my overall perspective of the show is positive or negative. For some of them, even it's how much of the show I even remember. A lot of shows get ranked lower than probably I think they are just because I don't remember them very well, which in and of itself is a critique, right? So it's the most subjective critique of each of these shows that you will see, basically. But of course, I will be explaining my reasoning for most of them. And yeah, if you have any comments on any of them, just go ahead and leave it on there and I'll get back to it. I'll probably be checking in with the comments at the end of every, like I said, every rating. So once I'm done with all the 1 stars, I'll move on to this, then the 2, then all the way up to 10. I really do need to get a second monitor so I can look at the comments without like swiping back and forth and back and forth. But for now, this is what we've got. So let's see, we are 37 minutes into it, and I think we're just gonna hop into it. So here is my anime list, Mal. Like I said, the first ones here, as you can see, these top 4 are ones that I don't have rated simply because I want these to be kind of separate. These are 4 of the first shows I actually ever watched, or first shows. These are 4 of the first anime I ever watched. And I think it's safe to say, and if you've seen any of these, odds are you probably don't recognize like any of them. If you've seen any of these, then it won't be a surprise to hear that they're not particularly good shows. I could not even tell you why these were like the first shows I watched, the first anime I've watched, but they kind of are, and they're also ones that are fairly close to my heart, and it's hard to really judge them objectively or from a less subjective standpoint because of that colored lens, and I don't really think that's a problem. If you do want to hear my takes on it, unfortunately, that does also keep me from that because I'm kind of closing them off to like critique or like comment because, yeah, they're just kind of close to my heart. So I'm just going to kind of leave those ones behind. Now, we're finally going to get into the start of things. And obviously, we're starting at the start, right? We're going from the bottom and making our way up. Here we have our score 1s out of 10. And these are shows that I could basically, my ranking for this one is if it is a show that I could have it wiped from my memory and I could completely forget about it, I would be the exact same person I am today. They've provided basically nothing to me. I don't really care. I'm not sure why I watched it. I do have some good memories of them, but I really don't care for them. And if somebody asked me if they'd recommend watching it, I would say, I don't know where you heard of this show, but just leave it be. And that's pretty much all it is for 1. We've got Infinite Colors Phantom World, Divine Gate, and Maho Shoujo Site. If you don't know what these are, leave it that way. You don't need to worry about it. This one's an ecchi fantasy, urban fantasy. This one is, I don't know, kind of like superpowers kind of thing. And this one is Madoka Magica, but worse. And those are my rankings for 1, basically. For 1 and the non-ranking ones. And since that one is really short, I'm just going to go ahead and move on to 2, and then we'll go from there. So, moving on to my 2s. I wonder if I can do this. No, it kind of loses them. So, the 2s here are shows that I don't really care about. Like, they're not as subjectively worthless as the 1s, but my opinion is either overwhelmingly bad or like just non-existent. Like I don't remember the shows at all because they just left that little impact on me. And this is where things get a little bit weird. 2 is kind of the hardest one for me to place because I actually do have opinions on a lot of these. Uh, no comment, Sakura Trick. If you know, you know. Black Bullet is a show I enjoyed watching. It was fairly early on in my anime uh, history, and I remember thinking of it similar to is like almost an Attack on Titan, except with more character focus and lollybait. Now, the reason I say more character focus is because this was back when AOT was only in its first season, and if you've only seen the first season of AOT, first of all, watch more of it. But if you've seen the whole thing, you'll know what I mean when I say this was pre-season 2 AOT. So I enjoyed it more for that because it had a similar kind of vibe and similar kind of world. But looking back on it, there's like so little of it I remember, and I don't really care for it. Oh, Mikaku City Actors. I'm going to have to keep this one short. I'm sure the vast majority don't know what this is. It's basically an anime adaptation, sort of like a YouTube, sort of like a AMV series kind of thing. It was a really interesting world, and this rating is not for the entire like world, and like for the music videos, those are incredible. It's just the anime itself. I won't say it was bad. I will say I don't remember it. Simple as that. I don't think this is the right placement for it. I'll probably change the rating after this because I haven't quite been able to figure it out. But if I remember correctly, it's like a really interesting and really like creatively directed show. I just don't like remember it at all. Like I barely even remember watching it. So I just kind of put it as a 2 in default. I don't feel great about it though. In the topic of things I'm not super sure about, Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, Kou Tetsujo no Kabaneri. This one is probably the one that if you have less if you have more like general I guess normie taste in anime and you've like seen shows that are more popular, out of like all the ones I've shown so far, this is probably the one you recognize. This was a show that had a lot of promise. It was coming off the heels of AOT, and similar to Black Bullet, except even more so, it had a very AOT vibe, but was clearly more focused on the characters than just on like killing people off and being depression corn. Let's just put it like that. I really liked it for a lot of it. The problem is the final arc. If you've seen the show, you know what I mean. Once it switched over to like the final like third of its season, and it only had like one season that was 1 core long, so it also suffers from just not being long enough and not really being given the chance to do its own thing. But at the end, it just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. So I just kind of have it down here because I can't really justify it being anywhere else. I might bump it up to like a 4 or so because there were some really good action scenes and there were some solid moments of it. It's just not something I care too much for. And the final one of the list is Masamune-kun's Revenge, Masamune-kun no Revenge. A slightly guilty pleasure show, a show I watched many, many years ago. This is a show that had a really cool concept and had a decent episode 1. But much like Rising of the Shield Hero, it didn't really do much with that. I don't love what it did with what it had. It basically just turned into from its like comedy revenge show into basically just your typical love story that anyone could have seen coming from a mile away. And I don't think that's necessarily bad to be like predictable, but it just wasn't very interesting. And there is a way that they could have executed on the idea of like the enemies to lovers that would have been good, I think. But it just wasn't that, and I just don't really care for it. So yeah, these are the first 12, and these are 1s through 2s. I'm gonna take a quick water right now, and we'll see what people have been thinking over here since then. And sure, I'll keep OBS up here fine because yeah, it's funny. I'll keep it open. Oh, Excel World was one of Mr. Light's first as well. Cool. Yeah, if you don't know anything about it, it's written by the same person as SAO. So do with that information what you will. I would say it's a significantly better show than SAO. It's significantly less popular. And the season wasn't terrible, but yeah, it's like one of the first anime I ever watched. And speaking of first shows, Alex has seen Zero Note Skyma. That's really interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, it's a really old one. I think that was the first anime I ever watched, like, period. And I actually have like a I think it's a Blu-ray copy of the actual anime, and like I have it like hardbound, and I haven't rewatched it yet. I will do that eventually. Maybe I'll do that as like a channel special for like a anniversary or subscriber special. I'll just do reactions of Zero Note Skyma to see what a non-anime Adari Gregan thought of his first ever anime, or rather, what he thinks about what was his first ever anime. That could be really funny. Oh, Sumknown hitting with the getting us to the quick with the super relatable. I can't remember most anime I've watched, mostly because I watch random stuff with very little to say about it, and haven't put them on a list. Yeah, thankfully I don't have too much of that. I mean, you've probably seen there's a little bit of it with like some shows like Divine Gate, Sakura Trick, Black Bullet, of like shows before I started watching good shows, but I have so many shows that are like I have so many shows to watch right now, and like I have for the last many years, that most of my list is like rated 6 or above, because for the longest time I started looking at recommendations and I never ran out. So I really don't have an excuse to watch shows that aren't really good in one way or another, at least highly regarded. Ugh, first world problems, am I right? I just can't watch bad shows, man. I just can't. They're just none presented to me. So long ago I saw it on YouTube. I think I saw Zero Note Skyma on YouTube as well. I think it was before I knew about any of the streaming sites. Sumknown watched the entirety of Hunter x Hunter when he was 12 through YouTube. Is the entirety of Hunter x Hunter even on YouTube? Huh. By the way, in case you're curious, that is actually going to be on the next poll. It's going to be on my how have I not watched this yet? My Hinwitty series, once I actually get back to my schedule. Hunter x Hunter, I assume, is going to be one of the strongest contenders for that. So if you do like that show, then look forward to that. Masamune Kun's Revenge, read the manga. You're right about Shield Hero. Yeah, it's definitely a shame. I haven't read the manga for either. I know there are a lot of people who like Shield Hero. My dog is about to just destroy my charger. That's an accident waiting to happen. But yeah, I haven't actually seen Shield Hero past season 1. From what I've heard, my opinion of it will not change if I keep watching it. So much like Seven Deadly Sins, which we'll get back to in a minute, I think I stopped at a good place before my opinion of it would have kept dropping. So yeah, Shield Hero is on the topic of shows that are like really good concept, but we're just really disappointing. We were talking about earlier. I think that's probably near the top of my list of like, I can't believe they fumbled this bag. Oh god, Subknown. I have so many poor isekai in my list. Yeah, that's actually why I made my mal originally, just so I could keep track of like shows I've seen. So I definitely recommend you do it as well. It's just a kind of a great way, just a reference material if nothing else, and it's also a fun way to look back after a certain amount of time and be like, what in the world was I cooking? And then you can either choose to leave it or you can adjust it to your modern tastes. Either way works, right? It's all about what you want to do with it. Most people, if you're not crazy enough to do what I'm doing and making everything public, it's pretty much just your private list. You can do whatever you want with it. And it's also a way you can keep up with like shows that you're watching, right? Because it allows you to show like what episode you're on. So it's a great way to keep track of that, especially if you are like on again, off again, but more off than on with watching anime. It's a great way to keep track of what episode you were on. Yeah, Shield Hero is kind of just a season 1 only type show. After the initial main conflict story gets resolved, story gets stale real fast. That's what I've heard. Hacks, Hackz. I'm just gonna say Hacks. Let me know if it's Hackz. I'm just gonna say Hacks. So yeah, Hacks. I mainly, from what I've heard, that seems to be kind of the case. I mean, from what I've seen, like the end of the season 1 is like when he gets his like big revenge, which is kind of the point of the show. And then after that, it just kind of does nothing. Like it just keeps being like a fantasy, like an isekai, but it's just kind of bland. And it's not really about a shield hero as you'd expect it to be, since he has like nuke buttons and the rest of his team is kind of useless. So it's just, there's a lot of weird stuff about it. Like it feels like the author either wanted an excuse to start writing this world and like grip people into it, or he just didn't know what to do with the story and just kind of kept going and it kept spinning its wheels. But yeah, I'm really not interested in watching anything past season 1. I'm glad, if nothing else, season 1 ended fairly well and like had like a resolution to the main gripping part of it, which is the revenge story. But then it just kept going, and now I just kind of have it for listening to the opening songs, because the opening songs are really good. They're all really good. And also, to your earlier comment, Hacks, I don't really have any ratings below 6. If something's rated below it, then I probably dropped it. I think that's how most people would see it from a general standpoint of like how you're rating shows. Like I said, and as you can kind of see here, mine is going to be a little bit different because I have like specific ratings for each one of them. They're not actually rated on like a scale of 1 to 10 of how good I think the show is. Each number is significant. It means something for the show. Like I said, the ones are the ones that you could wipe my brain and I wouldn't be any worse off for it. 2s are either ones I'm like frustrated about, but they're kind of ones, or they're just something that they don't quite rate being the bottom of the barrel. So that was kind of how I was allowed to spread out my case a little bit more and also spread them out and also get a lot of probably controversial takes as I show shows that are way better than their rating here, but they just more fit into the category I've put them in here. So I guess another way of saying it is it's a weighted GPA scale, right? It's not actually on the merits. It's more just how it relates to the shows around it, and to a degree, its own merits that can save it from being at a different rating. Okay, so we got the 1s and 2s out of the way. Now we can get to these slightly longer categories. They're going to get longer and longer from here. Next up, we have our 3s. I say that, and then we have like a 5 category of 3s. 3s are, and if you know these shows, you're going to find it's quite a smattering of shows. 3s are shows that I actually did enjoy. This is where it starts getting more positive. Don't get me wrong, it's not more positive than negative. These are very much overwhelmingly negative. But they're shows that I have a lot of good things to say about it. There are a lot of things I enjoyed about it. It just so happens that either I like don't remember it well enough, it just didn't leave a long enough impact on me, or I was so frustrated by how it turned out that it kind of gets bumped down to a 3. So first of all, 2 of them are also Fate, Nasuverse. First of all, we have Fate, Glide Liner, Prisma, Ilia. I've never seen past the first, I think maybe the second season of this, and it's actually not a terrible show. I'm probably just speaking to Alex here, and maybe one more of you, but this is a really interesting spin-off of the Nasuverse. There's some fun to it, there's some like fan service to it, there's some fan service to it, and there's some questionable parts about it. But there are also some really precious and some cool little parts about it. And there's definitely a lot of it that is valuable, which is why I put it on a 3. 3 is like, 3 is the start of the scale where things are like they stand on their own as art, and they're like they were valuable to my experience, and I'm glad I watched them because I was able to take at least something away from it, even if that something was getting a little more context to characters in Fate Grand Order, my mobile game I play. Corpse Party. I hate looking at this one on this list because Corpse Party is one of the best horror games I've ever played. If you've never played Corpse Party and like you're not super you're not like weak to gore and you're okay with that and you're okay with horror to a degree, I cannot recommend you play Corpse Party enough. It is a really super solid game. It's psychological horror, and it's just an absolute awful time, which is exactly what you want from a game like that. So please do play the game. Please don't watch the anime. Or I think it's technically like a series of OVAs. It was like 4 episodes. Please don't watch it. It's really bad. It's all like jump scares and like shock value and like has none of the heart and value of the original of the games. It's absolutely miserable. The only reason I have it as a 3 is because it is incredibly graphic. So if nothing else, it's entertaining to see just how insane they went on the on some of the visuals. That's the only reason it gets a 3. Please do not watch it unless you played the game and you just want to see like some crazy gore and some horrible things you wouldn't see like anywhere else in anime. But there are better shows for that, like Another, things like that. So that's why that gets a 3. Gabriel Dropout is, don't have much to say about this. I enjoyed it a lot, but it has a lot of flaws and it didn't really last with me very much, so I kind of just moved on from it. But I do like it enough to like not have it be a 2 or 1. But it's kind of whatever. Lord El Malloy. I wish I liked this one more than I do because I love the Nostuverse, but I just kind of don't. It's just kind of whatever. Maybe if it got more like a season 2, or I don't remember if it got a season 2 and I might have just not watched it if there's like a movie. I think there was something else about it, but it's just kind of whatever. It's kind of forgettable for me. And finally, Oredake Haireru Kakushi Dungeon. Hidden dungeon only I can enter. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that one. I'm going to plead the 5th on that one. Let's just say it's in the same realm as Phantom World. Let's just say that. It was fun in its own regard. Oh, it looks like we got Retro Capital here. Glad you could make it. We're still quite in the beginning stages of it. We're getting onto 4 pretty soon in just a second. Yeah. A lot of the lower rating here shows our fan service, as I'm sure you're not surprised at all to hear. Some of the higher rating ones have some of that too, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I think all of us early on in our anime journeys, we're quite into the ecchi anime for various reasons. Sumdon hates Hidden Dungeon quite a lot. My younger brother watched all of it and gave me a synopsis of each episode. I like how it gave me a really great ending song. Its ending song is absolutely lovely. And there are some really, really funny bits in the show. I'll give it that. But man, is that show not worth the air it breathes. It is like ultimate ecchi in that there is like so little value from it. But if you're just turning your brain off and just watching a show for like the ecchi fantasy story show that you're being presented with, then you'll probably enjoy it. But it is like the picture definition, the poster child of guilty pleasures. So I think we can get into the 4s here. And these were where things are really going to start ramping up. You can see there's a good number of 4s. The 4s are for shows that I have a largely good impression of. I like them quite a bit. This is where my like starts to counteract the dislike part about the show. And like I have some solid things to say about it, but for the most part, I either just don't remember it super well. I don't think it quite deserves a 5, but it's also not quite a 3. So 4 is kind of the awkward middle stage in Pokemon evolutions, the awkward teenage years of these shows that are just like, there are things worthwhile about these shows, things I enjoyed about it. But I'd be hard pressed recommending them to most people. So another horror show I watched, actually I binge watched the entire thing in Halloween several years ago. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. It's not a good show. It gets a 4. No Game No Life is probably going to be one of the most contentious things on this list. It's actually a surprisingly good show. I think the only reason this show gets a 4 is the very specific criteria I have for shows of like 5 and above, and for all the different categories after this, but also because it suffers from not having enough adapted. If you've seen No Game No Life, you probably know what I'm talking about. This is a show that only got season 1 and then it also got a movie, but really needed more. It was also a little bit like, I mean, it's very wish fulfillment, very like power fantasy. It's just in a more clever game scenario, so it also engages your brain a little bit. So it's a lot better than other wish fulfillment shows that don't have a whole lot of value to offer. I really don't want to put Gangsta so low on this list. I want it to be a lot higher. Originally it was like a 7. I just brought it down to a 4 because honestly, I barely remember the show. It did not have that much staying power with me, and the opening is really good. I don't remember the ED, but I remember enjoying myself thoroughly. I just don't remember enough to like earn it a spot on any higher on this list, so it kind of just goes in 4. And basically the same thing goes with Arslan Senki. It's a solid anime, like history, fantasy action show, and that's kind of all I can say about it. It's good. It's fine. Himoto Umaru-chan is a show I find very frustrating, except the frustration this time is on my part. Because especially, and this is mainly for season 2, but actually, before I go on that, in case you haven't noticed, there aren't any like season 2s, season 3s, and for the most part, no movies on here. I've decided to make my MAL a lot more streamlined, because even though they present shows as like different seasons, I don't have them listed as that. If I've basically completed a show, if I'm done with it, at least in my mind, then I will only have one of it in this MAL. The only exception being something like JoJo's, where like each part is different. Those will be listed here separately, but something like Arslan Senki season 1 versus season 2, it's just all going to be encompassed in here. And then I'll add my stipulation if I haven't finished it, or I'll tell you how far I've gone with it. And the reason I bring that up here is because Umaru-chan is a show that season 1 was absolute garbage. Season 2 was garbage with way more heart than it had any right having. There were some legitimately emotional moments in season 2 of Umaru-chan that I think 1 or 2 of them actually got me to tear up a little bit, and it was a lot more wholesome than season 1. And I don't know where it came from, and I kind of wish it came back for season 3 to see if it would keep going, but I'm really torn. It has to be a 4 because season 1 really drags it down, and it's just a very... If you know, you know. I'm not going to waste my time or yours explaining what Umaru-chan is. Either you know it or you don't. And if you don't know it, don't bother learning about it. It's not worth your time. But just season 2 had some really great stuff, which is why it's as high as a 4 here. Gate. Jietai Kanochi Nite Kaku Tatakaeri. Or just Gate, because I can never remember what the English translation of the title is. I really liked Gate when I was watching it. Looking back on it, there wasn't a whole lot of value to it. It was another like fantasy ecchi show, inverse isekai kind of thing. It's one of those shows that is like completely mid, like Arslan Senki. It's good. That's kind of all I can say. I don't really have much else I can say about it. I don't know what you want from me. That's why it gets a 4. It's just kind of forgettable. But it's a good forgettable, so it's not a 3. That's why it's 4. Sansha Sanyo, I kind of want to rate higher. This is a really weird show that, like, I think almost nobody knows about it. I only know about it because I saw previews of it due to like me being subscribed to, I think, the studio that made it, who I'm totally blanking on right now. They had like previews of it, and I was like, oh, this seems like fun, and it was really fun. It's a really comfortable, fun show. I don't remember too much about it. I think I might rate it like a 5 or so. I mean, it's not great, but it's a really fun slice of life, and it's just really comfortable. It makes you feel good, so that's that one. And now all of a sudden you get something that's totally out of left field, Pokemon X, Y, and Z. And yes, I do mean only X, Y, and Z. I haven't seen like any of Sun and Moon. I hear that one's actually really good. I haven't seen any of Horizons. I hear that one's actually even better. But X, Y, and Z is actually super solid. It is uncharacteristically good, like as a show, compared to all the Pokemon series that came before it. Pokemon has this weird, like, inverse correlation where the better the games are, the worse the anime are. But the worse the anime are, the better the games turn out to be. And it's really weird. I think the only exception being season 7, or being Generation 7, which is just good all around the board. But for the most part, X, Y, and Z is actually super solid, especially like the champion tournaments enough and like all the Serena stuff. It's just a good show, honestly. Which is really weird saying that about Pokemon genuinely, but genuinely, it's a solid show. But it's also the Pokemon anime, so 4 is kind of the ceiling there. Unless we talk about movies. 4 is kind of the ceiling for Pokemon, let's be honest. As long as we're not talking about the games, of course. Eromanga Sensei. Blend S is another show I enjoyed quite a bit. I think I might want to rate it higher. I think the only reason I have some of these as 4, not a 5, is because, as I will explain with 5 is a much more specific thing. Like, it had to have a stronger impact on me. 4 are shows that were largely positive, but I don't have much to say about it. And 5 is just a basically stronger version of that. So Blend S just didn't have enough to push it up to 5, but I would say it's like a high 4. It's one of the best slice of life shows I've honestly seen. And if like you just wanted a comfortable show of like slice of life to enjoy, Blend S would actually be one of the first I recommend to you because I enjoyed it quite a bit. That and Sansha Sanyo, I enjoyed both of those quite a bit, but they're just not good enough to be a 5 in my opinion. Just Because is a romance melodrama show that was like nobody knows about. I think I'm the only person I've ever met who's seen it before. It's got some really nice moments of it. It's very like filled with heart, but it's also very melodramatic, so 4 it is. Penguin Highway was a movie, solid movie. I recommend you watch it. It was just a lot of fun. I don't remember it well enough though to like comment too positively on it, other than the penguins are super cute. So it's 4. I'm gonna get to this one in a second, actually. Hige o soru, soshite doshikosei o hiro. I shaved my beard and picked up a high school girl, basically. A schoolgirl. This is also sort of a wish fulfillment, like slice of life power fantasy, if you want to call it that. It's very much like playing out a situation that would not play out this way. It's a very idealistic version of this situation. Wish fulfillment, I think, is the best way to put it. The concept of like bringing home a runaway like high school girl and like having her live with you and just having that whole be a scenario that doesn't end up with you being in the cops is the main wish fulfillment part about it. And it's a very sketchy idea on paper. But the show is actually largely wholesome for a lot of it. So I have good memories of it. There are some really wholesome moments that kind of stuck with me. So that's why it gets a 4. And finally, Nagatoro-san. It's a decent show. I think a lot of people would be justified in rating it higher. I just have it here because it just didn't stick with me a lot. I'm sorry. That's I'm not kink shaming, but that is not my kink. I'm not a bully kind of guy. I mainly rate it this high because there was some also really wholesome moments, and there's also some kind of funny bits that happen in it, and some really fun characters too. So I wish I could rate it higher. It's just not for me though. And finally, the one I skipped over, Fire Force. Now, I've not seen Fire Force past season 2. I know it just finished like in the winter. So I haven't seen I finished season 2 part 1. So I'm like halfway through the show. I haven't seen season 2 part 2, and I haven't seen season 3 with both its 2 parts, or season 3 and 4, however you want to phrase it. I know that this is basically, if not literally, a prequel to Soul Eater. And that on its own makes me want to watch more of it because I love Soul Eater. But honestly, I just couldn't really get into Fire Force. I just couldn't really get that interested in it. Season 1 was pretty solid, but it's weird because it's the same author as the person who did Soul Eater, and Soul Eater is really good, but Fire Force just feels very like gimmicky. The characters don't really feel like people. They feel like one-off jokes that keep repeating themselves. And it just feels like a cardboard cutout and kind of a lesser version of Soul Eater. And obviously it's a very different story, and it's got some really good animation at times. The openings are really nice for the most part, but it's also one of the more disappointing shows I've seen. And it's a show I very reluctantly dropped, but I dropped nonetheless. And I'm realizing that I need to go a lot faster with these because we are like 32. We're like a third of the way through it. This thing is gonna take a while if I give my full spiel about every single show. So I might have to speed it up from here, which I should be able to because I less need to like defend why I have these shows so low rated. But we're gonna get into the middle ground pretty darn soon. Do you wish that JJK went more into its horror element? I think JJK could be more horror if it wanted to, but I don't think it needs to. And I think it's kind of fine where it is, honestly. I like where JJK is. I think it's got plenty of horror already on its own, especially back when Mahito was around. Excuse me. But no, I don't really think so. I don't think it needs to. I think it's plenty horrifying on its own when it wants to be. And yeah, I agree, Alex. We need more well-made horror adaptations. We need like any well-made horror adaptations. We have like none of them. There are very few that are like actually well done and like properly capture the horror. Like the infamous adaptation of, I believe it was Junji Ito's collection was that adapted to anime, and they just completely missed the whole point of like what makes it scary and how to adapt a manga into an anime to like make it still horrifying. That's like the infamous case, but we really do need some solid horror adaptations because there just really aren't many to choose from. I think probably one of the best ones I've seen is like Another, which is just basically Japanese Final Destination, and for those who don't know. Ooh, anyone here watched Needy Stream Overload the anime? Some known, I have not. I've watched a playthrough of somebody who did like one run of it, and hopefully he'll do more. If you're not familiar, it's a the YouTube channel is Euro Brady. And by the way, if you haven't seen Euro Brady on YouTube, I cannot recommend you watch it enough. If you like my channel and you like my content, you are going to love Euro Brady. And honestly, like I'm thinking of adding anime to my channel eventually. I'll probably have to wait until it's probably best to wait until like I actually get back to watching anime consistently, but I would love to do like anime video game videos as well as my anime ones. And if I were to do that, I would probably largely take after Euro Brady because he is a licensed therapist, and the way he like will take breaks to talk about something brought up in the video game and talk about like different therapeutic topics is really good. Check him out. Anyways, all that to say, he did Needy Stream Overlord. He did like 3 like videos of it for like one run of it. So I haven't seen much about it. I know it has an anime. I have not watched it yet. It, like your second comment says, it looks very odd. It looks like they're like taking a completely different direction, which is, I kind of give them respect for that, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll wait to see what other people think about it. I'm going to reserve judgments because I know basically nothing about it, and I know very little about the source material. So I'll hold my judgments on it. But the game itself is like super cool, and it's such a great depiction of like anxiety and of being in the public being in the public sphere. Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and X and Y were my favorites from the anime. Diamond Pearl, I have some really great memories of it, especially when I was like as a child. That was the main series I was growing up with as a kid. I didn't watch X and Y too much, like actually live. I watched most of it. I think that was when I started moving less on the TV and onto the computer. And it was when it got really good. Diamond Pearl's all right, but it's still very Pokemon anime. But starting from Gen 6 onwards, X and Y onwards, like I don't know what happened, but the producers and like the directors of Pokemon Incorporated, I guess, just decided to lock in and make every season after that a banger. No Blendas from memes. Yeah, of course, it's got the opening meme, the OP meme. I have a lot I could say about Fire Force and Nagatoro too, for that matter. I mean, some known. Go ahead. Don't let me stop you. This is the place for sharing our thoughts. And I mean, you could always do it. Actually, if you have a lot to say about it, go ahead and drop it in the Discord and make like a post about it. And that goes for everyone here, by the way. If you have like certain opinions, be like there's a lot you want to say about one of these shows or about what I think about one of these shows, however you want to do it, go ahead and join my Discord if you haven't already. But make a separate like channel about that and just start sharing your opinions of it. I would love if we started discussing these other shows as well, because we won't really have an opportunity to do it during most of my reactions for obvious reasons, because they're shows I've already watched, right? So yeah, feel free to share your thoughts about that, whether it's about the show or I can see as you're talking about the author. Ooh, that could be interesting. Yeah, that's very much up to you if it starts getting into like some of the touchier subjects. But yeah, feel more than welcome to bring it up in Discord. I'm sure there are other people who'd be more than happy to talk about these shows that probably won't get a spotlight on my channel because I've already seen them. Ooh, Hax recommends the manga for Higehito. The anime skips a lot. Interesting. Okay. Maybe I'll have to check that out since I've actually seen the anime. I'd like to. And I did enjoy this story, and I found it took a better direction than I was expecting it to. But if the manga's even better, then maybe I'll do that to increase my perspective of it a little bit, but a little bit more. Similar to Twin Star Exorcist, which I mean we'll get to that one as well. Don't worry. We'll get there. We'll get there. Speaking of Higehito, I zoned out and I hear picked up by a high school girl. Yeah, Retro, if you haven't seen Higehito, watch at your own discretion. It's got quite the subject it touches upon, and does so in a certain way. I don't know how to talk about this. But yeah, explore at your own risk, I'll say. But the show itself is surprisingly wholesome, and it's just a good watch. So if you just want like a good fun show, it's kind of comfortable and touches on and just sort of dances around some more touchy aspects, yeah, go ahead and watch it. I think you'll enjoy it. You zone out, appear in the worst spot every time. Yep, absolutely. Oh, we got some talks about Hell's Paradise. I have not seen that yet. It's a show I'm probably going to put on my Modern Masterpiece poll, the show whose results I'm still tallying, and I'll make a video about that soon enough. But I've heard some really good things about Hell's Paradise, so I might add that to the Modern Masterpiece poll. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Light. Started Fire Force 2 months ago, but stopped at like season 1, episode 6. Didn't feel drawn to it. Yeah, season 1 was all right. I think the first couple episodes were its strongest. First episode was really good. Season 2 I started to lose interest, and then I didn't even finish the season. It's a slow cooker, ironically. The cat girl. Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah, that's She's definitely an acquired taste in more ways than one. Oh, okay. Someone was talking about how the author of Nagatoro started out in the H industry. Yeah, yeah. That's the thing that most people know about when they're thinking about like the drama of the show, which is definitely seen in like a lot of the art style, but like you said, it doesn't really affect the actual show or the story very much. You can definitely see the let's say inspirations from it in the show, but it's the actual show itself is perfectly fine. It's just not really to my tastes. Oh geez, Retro is he is just starting fires left and right. How good is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Is it that good because I'm planning to watch it? No two people will give you the same answer to that question. And like in a and yes, that's true of like every anime of like perspectives and opinions, but that show in particular, it is truly a unique show. It is a show unlike anything I've ever seen before or since. The short answer is yes. It's incredibly good. The vast majority of it is really good. The longer answer is that it is a story that defies comprehension. It is, I mean, it's bizarre, but it is a story that is separated into different parts that have different main characters and like follows the lineage of the Joestars. It's absolutely insane. I mean, there are things that are. We'll get to it in a minute. I'll get to my opinions on each of the parts of JoJo's as we get into it. And I'm seeing your other question to have a ball of steel. My goodness. Yeah. Even if you haven't seen it, you probably are vaguely familiar with it through like just the memes. But what if you actually haven't seen it, then you have to watch it. It's just one of those things. But again, I'll get into my take about each of the different parts as we get back into this list and get further into it. But Mr. Light successfully converted one friend to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and never attempted it again. It's an exhausting show to advise to recommend because and to like keep them on it because you I mean it speaks for itself. I could not possibly give it the words that would do it justice. Alex says it best. Yes, yes, yes. Brilliant. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. It's time to move on to the, I guess, the latter half of the halfway point, even though we're only a third way through the list. I really need to speed this up. Fives are where shows start getting a lot more good than bad. This is the point where shows are, I have a overwhelmingly positive perspective on it, an overwhelmingly positive view on it. However, there are aspects of it that do lower it from being better or worse. Like there are parts of it that are keeping it from being higher. Basically, four was kind of the wall break for like. I'm losing my language. Hold on. I said before that four was shows that are not super great, but have certain things that have like impacted me. The reason why I said there was kind of a wall between four and five is because five are shows that like left a lasting impact on me. Shows that rather than being like more good than bad, that was kind of my older perspective on it, but rather than being good or bad, it's more how much of an impact did it leave on me? And if it left a significant enough impact, then it's a five. If it didn't leave too much, then it's a four. But both of them are kind of equal and like they have significant flaws to like each one of these. And I wouldn't go out of my way to say any of them are particularly good shows. With few exceptions, Parasite being one of them. But first of all, Fate Stay Night, really good. I would much recommend you read the visual novel instead of the anime. If you've seen the anime, you probably know what I mean. It could have been a lot better. A Certain Magical Index is a very complicated show. I really need to just read the light novels of it, but the anime, it just did not live up to it. Fairy Tail is Fairy Tail. It's the greatest show ever created. It's a show a lot of people really like, but it's a show that I have a lot more trouble pointing out the positives than the negatives. There's a lot that's lacking in it, but there's a lot of really good stuff with it, especially near the end. Like if you know about Zeref, I think he's phenomenal. And he single-handedly brings this up to a 5 in my ratings. Otherwise, it'd probably be a 4, if not a 3. SAO, as you saw, I kind of made a joke where I moved it down to a 4 because it wasn't really rating a 5. I think it does get a 5, actually, since I said it's more like how impact they had on me. SAO did have a pretty... No, it didn't. SAO had a pretty sizable impact on me because it was also one of the first shows I watched. I mean, it's kind of known as being like the gateway drug into anime, right? But I'm not gonna sit here on my soapbox and pretend like y'all have never heard why SAO isn't a great show. You know. Parasite is a show that I'm really struggling keeping it at a 5. I want to bring it higher because it's a really, really good show. This is one of the most difficult shows to have on a lower rating for me on this list because, like, objectively or non-subjectively, on most of the least subjective parts about like making an anime and about how the anime actually is and the story and the writing, Parasite is brilliant. It's brilliant. It's a really, really good show. For some reason, I have like no emotional attachment to it, and I just did not enjoy it. It just completely missed for me, and I don't know why. Maybe it was just the time I watched it, but maybe it's just not for me, and it's just really not for me. So if I were putting this on a less subjective scale, I'd give it an easy 8 or 9. It's only a 5 because it just didn't speak to me that much. But it's also elevated above a 4 and like below because it's too good of a show to go lower than a 5. So it's in a weird like purgatory slot here. Aldnoah Zero, I enjoy a lot more than apparently most people do. I thought it was really good. I thought there were a lot of flaws in it though, which is why it's not higher. But there were some super great moments of it. I actually liked the second half of season 1 or season 2, whatever you want to call it, unlike most people. But it's a very divisive show, so I'll leave it at that. Speaking of divisive, we have Rewrite, much like Fate Stay Night, and much like most visual novels. If you haven't seen or read it, I recommend you read it. Rewrite took a really interesting direction, though, with its adaptation. It didn't bother trying to adapt the visual novel like one-to-one, which Fate Stay Night tried and failed a little bit more at. It tried a little harder, and it failed a lot harder. Rewrite tried to take a different direction and actually tried to adapt it like in a sort of unique way. And I think it did a really solid job. Now, I haven't actually read the visual novel, so I'm really talking out of my ass here, but I've seen things about it and I've read things about it, and I know the visual novel's really good. The anime captures a lot of that spirit, and it's that really good parts of it that has me rating it at a 5. Because there's some really good messages and stuff that I wish we had more anime, like about the state of the earth and about things like that, that basically deserves this higher rating. But as far as the actual adaptation goes, the actual anime goes, it's not the best. Okay, Twin Star Exorcist. One of the first things that I kind of put on the back burner so we talk about later. I've not read the manga. I know this show branched off similar to Soul Eater and kind of did its own thing, created its anime original ending. I've not read the manga. I want to read the manga because I really like the story. And I actually like the anime original ending. I like this one and Soul Eater. I think it turned out really well. I would rate this one higher, and as you can see, I've rated Soul Eater higher because I think the journey of Twin Star Exorcists, Sousou no Onmyoji, was a lot less solid than the one of Soul Eater. Soul Eater was super good and super enjoyable all the way through. Onmyoji really suffered in a lot of its runtime. It pacing issues. It suffered from shonen syndrome, let's just say, being a little bit basic in a lot of ways. but there were some really cool ideas, and I take a lot of inspiration from a lot of its like fundamental ideas and like its lore in my own story. Welcome to the Classroom of the Elite. I've only seen season 1 of this. I think there's a new season going on right now. I don't really care. This is another one that's really weird that it's on 5, because I like a lot of shows that are like I've rated as a 4 more than Classroom of the Elite. But the ending scene of season 1 struck me so much and impacted me so much that it kind of gets elevated to a 5. But it's another show like this one, like Sosei no Myoji, like Rewrite, like Face Day Night, where they completely took a departure, or they took a lot of departure and a lot of creative liberties adapting the light novel to an anime. And I'm starting to read through the light novels. I actually bought all of them, so I'm going to read through them. And it took like it's going like completely different. I would say this one is more on the Fate Stay Night version side of the spectrum, where it like, or it's, I guess, on the Rewrite scale, where it tried to do something different. It tried to do something unique with it, and it ended up doing some really baffling things, like getting rid of, especially in season 1, getting rid of a lot of characters, like, and replacing them with the main heroine. And there's a lot of weird stuff about Classroom of the Elite, a lot of weird choices they made with like the adaptation, so it gets a 5. And we've already talked about Shield Hero through extension of other shows. Great premise, solid end of season 1. I've only seen season 1, so it'd probably be rated a lot lower if I saw more of the seasons, but thankfully my vision is only affected by season 1. And this final one, we're kind of ended off on kind of a Peter here with the rating 5s. This is not for all of Higurashi. This is only for the remakes, the sequels, if you would. It's a long story, it's complicated. That was more recent. It had some really cool ideas, but there was so much of it that was like super like repetitive and a lot of missed potential. So I can't really rate it lower than a 5 because of some really cool stuff it had. I can't rate it higher than a 5 because it was just horrible execution. And that's going to be the end of the 5s here. And we're almost halfway done with this, so hope you guys are bearing through it. It's probably going to be a little bit of a stranger stream for a lot of you, because a lot of it I'm probably talking about shows you've never seen, but hopefully you're getting little parts about different parts here and there about it. So mainly though, I think this is going to be just for the VOD and for what people are thinking about it, and just to get little takes on it. Retro, I will talk about Gurren Lagann later. You're gonna have to wait a little bit for that though. Oh, Alex has to go. All right. Have a good one then. Thank you for being here. And I'm sorry to hear that Saturday's not going to work out for you. I'm seeing your other comment that Sundays might be better. I might be agreeing with that as well. I might shift it over to Sunday. I am also aware that like people go to church on Sunday, so maybe it'll change on like the time of like when I do it. But yeah, I'll play around with that, especially since it sounds like you can't really be here for most of Saturdays anymore. That alone might make me move to Sundays, because we can't just do these without one of our mods. So yeah, have a good one, Alex. In the meantime, the problem with Stay Night and with any other work adapted from a novel or visual novel is that it would need to be much longer to contain all the important elements of the original material. Exactly. One of the big issues is that a lot of like producers and directors who are trying to adapt a visual novel or like a light novel or anything like that, is that fundamentally, and far more than like manga, you need to do a lot more work adapting it and making it work, right? You need to do a lot more legwork, and you need to be a lot more creative with how you adapt it when you don't have panels to work with, because you can't just connect the dots like a lot of people do with manga. I think most of this community can agree that just connecting the panels like most anime adaptations do with manga is not the right way to do it, but it's still a much more successful way than when you don't have the panels at all, right? Because then if you lack creative vision and you don't have panels to connect, like what are you going to do? Probably make a super bland A1 Pictures adaptation. So a lot of these visual novels and like light novels, like Classroom of the Elite, which I hear is a really good visual light novel series, Higurashi and the Fate Stay Night, which are really good visual novels, really struggle in their adaptations because they required a very a very particular set of skills to adapt properly. And unfortunately, the people who got it just didn't quite do that. I do have to give some respect to the Classroom of the Elite anime, though, because they had a lot of balls adapting it the way they did. And while I think they missed more than they hit, and I think most people can agree they're rushing it, is the consensus I've heard, I respect that they at least did not make it super bland. They at least tried to put their own spin on it. I agree with that, Hacks. Fairy Tail gets a lot of shite, but the people who really love it stick with it no matter what. Yeah, it's got a lot of super loyal fans, which is really interesting, and I like it. I see where the heart comes from, and I see why a lot of people love it. There are just way too many flaws in it for me to really is kind of indefensible. How like poor most of the writing is. I despise Classroom Elite because of its fandom. I haven't seen too much about that. I think that people say a similar thing with MHA, which is largely why I don't engage with most fandoms. I get to kind of avoid that pitfall, the downside of watching most anime, honestly. The loud minority of fandoms can really damper the experience. And yeah, exactly, Hacks. The ending scene for season 1 of Classroom of the Elite is probably the most memorable scene of the entire season. It's a really good ending scene. It's a really good ending scene. Like the whole like twist of it and the way they play it over and the way, I'm not going to spoil it, but the main character's monologue plays over like the main heroine talking, and just the whole way that scene plays out is genuinely some of the biggest chills I've had in anime. It's a really good ending. And it's pretty much that alone that has it rated as high as a 5 for me, the season 1. And it's kind of a shame that the rest of it wasn't adapted quite as well. Oh no, Sumnone's writing an entire it has a Classroom of the Elite haiku in mind to express his hatred. Well, I'm looking forward to that. And maybe you'll make more when you actually read the light novel as well. Maybe you can write like haiku battles between the anime and the light novel. Just food for thought. Retro is coming to the defense of Classroom of the Elite, though. Ayano Koji is the best MC of all time. He solos Eren, Yuji, Simon in writing, Simon, I think. I assume he's talking about Gurren Lagann. The way he manipulates his friends into assets is amazing. Yeah, I can't stand CFC. Yeah, the idea of manipulation. Yeah, yeah. It sounds like, I mean, it sounds like a lot of that, and I kind of agree with that. It sounds like most of that stance on Ayano Koji is based on the anime. And it sounds like in the light novel, he's actually a lot more of a person and a lot more of a relatable character. So I don't know if anyone here has actually read the light novels of it, but I think most of the criticism I have about it is probably because of the anime, due to the strange decisions they decided to do with it. And I hope you're right, Hacks, that the latest season is better with the pacing. But also, like, it's what's done is done, right? It's kind of already had its chance. And even if the season's like after they're just banger after banger, I don't know if it can possibly be good enough to justify me going back into it. At the very least, watching the seasons that were less good. I'll probably just read the light novels for Classroom, and I might watch the anime just to see how they adapted it. But again, I think it's too little too late, even if they are doing better with the adaptation now. Sunknown dropped the haiku in the haiku corner. Awesome. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, go ahead and join Discord. It's on Patreon, but it's for free members. It's pretty crazy. It's a small group, so it's super fun. There is a haiku corner, so if you got haikus to write, there's a haiku corner. You can check out Sunknown's comment there too. Retro, I have thought about reacting to non-anime. I'm not opposed to it. I don't think it would happen anytime soon, though. Pretty much all of the shows I'll be reacting to, and pretty much everything I'll be doing on this channel will be based on you guys, will be voted by you. So if enough people, like when a poll is going to come around, want to bring up, like, let's say Invincible or Arcane, I'm not at all opposed to doing that. But there has to be enough people wanting to see it on the poll and then actually voting for it and having it win a poll. And I think at least for the good while in my channel, especially because I have so many good shows to catch up on, it probably won't do that anytime soon. I mean, I hear Invincible's really good, but I think there are too many good anime that people want to see more that'll be winning polls before Invincible gets a chance. But yeah, I hear it's a really good show, and I definitely do see a future where it wins the poll one of these days. And it does sound like there's some interesting things to comment on, so I'm not at all opposed to it. Now, we're done with 5s. We're almost halfway through this. It's time to move on to the 6s. I think 6 is no, it's not. 7 is probably the largest category in here. 6 is, as you can see, pretty well contained here. Oh god, the last one's gonna cause a lot of ruckus, I can already tell. 6 is for shows that I have largely good opinions about. This is truly where the goods outweigh the bads, and I would say this is a good show for all of these. I wish I could say it was a great show, but I can really only just say it's a good show. Some of them are like good plus, but they don't really become great shows until 7 onwards. But 6 is like the comfortable spot. Like if I wanted to be an anime, I would shoot for 6. I'd hope for higher, but I'd shoot for 6. 6 is like, you are solid, you've made it, you're good. You are good. So Akame ga Kill is not good. To most people. I think I am in the minority with how much I enjoyed Akame ga Kill. I do recognize it has a really bad plot poison issue, but that's also kind of part of the story and kind of part of it. And I believe it also had an anime original ending, so there's a lot of probably manga hate from it. But I enjoyed it. I've never read the manga, I only know the anime, and I enjoyed the anime. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was also a show I watched earlier on in my career, so it's been a while since I've seen it. But it had some really cool ideas. I mean, the Imperial Arms, I think they were called, are mostly really cool. And it had a good story, and it didn't overstay its welcome. It's a complete story in like 1 season, 2 cores. It's a good show. It's a really good show. A much better show is Overlord. I've only seen the first 2 seasons of this, I believe. It's a show I wouldn't mind continuing watching, but it's also a show I'm not super interested in. I think I've kind of watched all that I was content with it. I'm kind of content with what I've seen. This is a show that most people like a lot. And I think, like Parasite, it would be higher on my rankings if it was more to my liking, but it's just not really to my taste a whole lot. So it's a really good show that kind of is stuck at a comfortable 6, just due to taste, really. On the other end of the spectrum, there's Rakudai Kishi no Cavalry, Chivalry of a Failed Knight. This is a show that presents itself as a power fantasy ecchi tournament arc. It's only 1 season in the season of the tournament arc. And yet, this show is surprisingly good in so many ways. And every time I like reflect back on it, I remember more good things about it. And I start to wonder why I had it lower in the ranking. So it's slowly been rising on the rankings on my list, because I don't remember things about it that I don't really like. The first like 5 and like by like episode 5 or I think even 4, they did something that almost no anime ever does with its main hero and heroine. I won't spoil it, but they do some crazy things. The pacing of the show is way faster than you'd expect it to be. And the end of this show also, like the climactic fight, is surprisingly heartful, and it's a tournament arc taken in a different direction than you'd expect. It's a surprisingly good show, and I kind of want to rewatch it. I've been wanting to rewatch it for a little while now, just because I can only seem to remember the goods of it. I kind of want to rate it higher, but I feel like there has to be something that wasn't great about it, because it should just be this power fantasy ecchi show. And yet, why do I only have good memories of it? I don't know. I think maybe I'm being brainwashed. So until that brainwashing is undone, I think I'm just going to let it cook. And over time, it'll just slowly rise in the rankings. I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird. I wish I could explain it better, but another thing I also wish I could explain better on the topic of that, I didn't list these, but they're organized very conveniently for me. Boku dake ga inai machi, or Alex, cover your ears. Erased. Awful. It's one of the shows that suffers from some of the worst English localization titles. This is another show that most people did not like Akame ga Kill, that I seem to be in the minority with how much I enjoyed it. I don't really see the issue most people have with it. I thought it was really fun, really captivating, and really wholesome. And I just really liked it. I didn't like it enough to like rate it a 7 or anything, but I just really liked it. This is just the comfortable. Like I said, if I were to be born as an anime on my list, I would aim for a 6, because it's just super comfortable. And I really need to work on these transitions, because in the opposite direction of being comfortable, we have Haito Genso no Grimgar, Grimgar Fantasy and Ash, which is a great, lovely, I don't think it's an isekai, I think it's actually just a fantasy. Until you get to like episode 3, I think. Then it becomes Misery Corn. And it's just, it completely like changes genres into being like the show about overcoming like depression and grief and loss. And it's this like really contemplative, like kind of beautiful and kind of hard to watch show that could have certainly been better, but had such an interesting idea and executed on it well enough that it is a comfortable 6 for me. I mostly have good memories of it, even if those good memories are painful, bad memories. They are good memories of this show made me feel, and I think that's enough to give it a 6. Fate Apocrypha, more Nasuverse, could have been a lot worse, could have been a lot better. It's a comfortable 6. There was some really cool animation, some great characters. 6. Takagi, I have not seen season 3. I saw season 1 and 2. It's one of the better like episodic, like I forget what they're called. They're like the 4-panel things. I don't know. I don't remember if this is exactly one of them, but these are like the skit based manga, right? Turned anime, like Nagatoro. But this one is like infinitely more wholesome than Nagatoro, and it's way more my speed. It's one of the better ones that I've seen. It's really wholesome and really cute. And I think it's actually done as of season 3. So if I had to recommend like one slice of life, like episodic kind of story, I would probably go with Takagi-san. It just makes you feel good and just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. And on the topic of feeling warm and fuzzy, let's see if I can do this for the rest of the list, if I can have sequiturs for each one. We have That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Tensura, which is a show I actually haven't seen past season 2, I believe. And I'm not really interested in watching it past there. It's really fun. It's just not captivating enough for me. I just kind of stopped watching it because, like, again, I was like kind of satisfied, kind of whatever. It's fine. It's a good show. It's a good show. If you enjoy it, all the power to you. But I'm just kind of done with it. I'm kind of happy with it as a comfortable 6. Okay. Let's talk JoJo's. Because one of the reasons why I decided to do this as my stream, and I don't think the person who actually inspired me to put this on the stream is here right now. He'll have to watch the VOD if he's not here. Why is JoJo's Golden Wind only a 6? And why is it the lowest rated part? in this list. It's the first time we brought up JoJo's here, right? Like properly through the show. And that's because, rather obviously, it's my least favorite part. Now, I have not read any of the manga of JoJo's. I have not even seen past the first core of Stone Ocean. I know Steel Ball Run has just started. But part 5 is not a bad season. It's not a bad part, let me get that clear. I know a lot of people who really like it. I would say it's more along the lines of Overlord and Parasite, where it's a good show that I just did not vibe with. But unlike those two, I actually have a little bit more to back up why I didn't like it. And man, I'll get to this when I get to part 4, why I like part 4 so much more. I think with part 5, it's a story about like these gangsters and about trying to become like the top gangster and trying to protect the like gangster's daughter or something like that. Forgive me for my horrible summary of the plot line. It's a story that is inherently like, it's a story that is in a rush, right? We are being attacked by assassins and we need to, it's basically an escort quest, is at least the first half of it. Despite that urgency, JoJo's is a story that is like pseudo episodic. It's like an episodic serialized show where it has these little episodes of these different interactions. And I think there are just too many. They bog the pacing down too much, despite that kind of counteracts the urgency of the actual plot. And I think that's the biggest issue I have with it. When you see something like JoJo's Part 4, it doesn't really have that plot, right? It's just kind of school living, and eventually it's about the hand guy. No spoilers. But the more slice of life nature of part 4, and you could say even in like part 6 Stone Ocean, where we're just kind of in this prison and just doing prison things with JoJo's, those environments are more conducive to JoJo's semi-episodic formula. And it really allows Araki to spread his wings and do his own thing with like his stands and his battles and have his fun battles without really hurting the pacing. And I think that's my rub with part 5. I think part 5 is too urgent to tolerate the pacing of JoJo's and of the way that Araki likes to write. So I'm not saying that Araki does not write well or that his pacing is not good for a story. Obviously not. As you'll see, part 6 and part 4 are really highly rated on Mal here. My Mal. God, I hate saying that because Mal is my anime list, so I say my Mal, chai tea. On my list, those are much higher rated because I think it fits a lot better. I think part 5 doesn't fit nearly as well, which is why it's a lot lower rated than the other parts. Oh, and also the art style is like very different. Felt like more of a transitionary period as they like changed art styles. I think part 4 was more of that, but part 5 was really weird for me for the art style. I didn't really like it that much. I like every other part, 4, 3, 2, 1, and even 6 more than 5. It just didn't vibe with me. So I wanted this one to be a little bit more long-winded because this is one of the main things I wanted to talk about on my list, because I noticed some people were a little bit incredulous that JoJo's Part 5 is so low rated, but that's kind of my stance on it. I don't think it meshes super well. I think it is a good story, and Araki generally just writes really well, and there's some really cool characters and really great stands. I said that backwards. There's some really cool stands and really great characters. But overall, it just doesn't quite live up to the rest of JoJo's, I think, in my opinion. My objective, factual opinion, of course. And those are my 6s. After this, it's going to be mainly talking about positive stuff. So I'm going to check the comments here real quick, and then we'll move on to the really fun stuff when I get just to start glazing shows left and right. Retro still bringing up crazy. Still trying to light these fires. Don't know if you said this or not. What's your favorite anime and the one you despise with all your heart? I will get to that in a second. Put a pin in that. Remind me of that after I finish through this list, because I think it'll become a lot easier to talk about that once I've gone through it all. Yeah, exactly, Max Godard. Rakudai has a hell of a climax battle. And I guess you're right. That's probably a lot of it that I didn't really talk about. It has a lot of shitty tropes that it carries, and I think that's what lowers it a little bit. But it executes on so many tropes, even the shittier ones, so well that it's hard to hate it too much because it's really good at executing well on its ideas. Max stands with the race by virtue of Asian Kung Fu generation. Yeah, that's reason enough to stand by it. Oh, some knowns actually seen Grimgar. How unusual. One of those anime where you realize it's something entirely different than what you thought you were going to watch. Exactly. And I actually really enjoyed it, so. I'm also realizing that since I'm looking at these after the fact, I assume Alex is responding to me, though he might just be writing in emojis to the comments before it. I hope he's talking about the ones before it and not like to what I'm saying, because I'm not like looking at these comments live, so I don't know what these emojis are necessarily referring to. Maybe I'll watch it in the VOD afterwards. Or Alex, if you're listening, go ahead, like hit a thumbs up if you're reacting to my takes, or if you're, or like a thumbs down if you're reacting to the comments above you. But I'm just seeing all these different emotes, and it's just like, uh-oh, is he actually live reacting through these emotes and I'm just missing it? These are just out of context. Unless they are, in which case. Some known Isekai Slime, Tensura, a series which I have a lot of history with, but I think very little of it. The more it goes on, the more it became a power fantasy. Yeah, and it's a different power fantasy in its credit. It's more of like a civ builder, right? Like a civilization building game. But it's kind of whatever. It had quite a strong start, but it's just kind of not interesting to me anymore. Okay. Actually, you know what? Mr. Light, you're getting into the Golden Wind stuff. We're going to be able to discuss this more in a second. As I've said before, you can tell I'm a novice streamer by how many bathroom breaks I have to take. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to hit the head real quick, and I'm going to fill up my water. And then we'll talk a little bit more about JoJo's Part 5. But I see your comments, and I look forward to talking about it more. Because I do have a lot of opinions on the show. Actually, you know what? I'm going to elect to not fill out my water because that's obvious. That's pretty obviously the reason why I have to take so many restroom breaks. It feels like a catch 22. If I don't get water, my throat's going to dry out, and I'm gonna lose my voice. But if I do have my water, then I have to use the restroom all the time, and you guys have to just kind of like sit by and just wait. Oh, eternal conundrums. Maybe I need to take something before I do the stream so I don't run out of. I completely lost my train of thought because some known as activating his 6 eyes. Brilliant. I love that. Alex is apparently responding to both. Okay, so I just get to be even more lost. Awesome. Glad we could clear that up. Okay, so Mr. Light. I think it was starting right around here, yeah. The adaptation for Part 5 is stellar, in my opinion. Same team that does Steel Ball Run for the most part, so I'm happy with that. Want to dig a little more into the Golden Wind? There's this incredible video by Oceanus called The Brilliance of Golden Wind. I have not seen that. I definitely do want to check that out because I want to like Golden Wind. I really do. I want to like Part 5 a lot more than I like it. And as you'll see in a second, it's the lowest rated on my anime list for JoJo's by a pretty large margin. So I really want to like it more than I do, but it just doesn't quite hit me right. And like I said, I think a lot of it is kind of that dissonance between its fast pacing and the episodic nature of JoJo's that Araki excels at. But there are a lot of really good things about it. So I can definitely see why Oceanus would have a video on that. And he's a really good creator. It just doesn't quite feel right to me, I think. And I think it's like the only part that's like that. So I don't know. Maybe really is just similar to Parasite, where it just doesn't quite hit me right, just because of personal taste. Cooling Games Part 2 is in production. That was confirmed officially March 26th. Good to hear. Maybe I'll finish Part 1 by the time that one comes out. Maybe it won't. Who knows? There's a map event coming soon, I think. Probably for JJK and Chainsaw Man news. Interesting. Well, I certainly wouldn't mind more Chainsaw Man. I'm still not quite over the movie that they had, but I definitely would like more of it. Maybe if nothing else, so I can drown out my sorrows and overwrite my memory of the latest Chainsaw Man with the new season. And then maybe finally get the full version of that stinking song that they refused to release because they wrote it with full of spoilers for like the entire first part of the manga. The third ED, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. I usually have a good time with stories that are mostly just diplomatic meetings, hence why I had such a good time with Foundation and Mistborn 2. Tensor really doesn't handle it well, in my opinion. I can agree with that to a large degree, Max Godard. And I think the biggest issue is not that it's diplomacy focused and not that it's like Civ Builder, but it's simply that it is like a power fantasy, right? It's very much a power fantasy, just not in the sense of like steamrolling your opponents like most power fantasies are. It's like a power fantasy of an idealist, of a pacifist even. Though I guess Ryumiru is not particularly pacifistic necessarily. But yeah, it's a different kind of power fantasy, just not really for me. And I think it could do a lot of things better. But I don't hold it against anyone for liking it, because I think there's a lot to like about it. I get your issue with pacing, I think, though I think Part 3 is worse in that regard. Golden Wind has the great quality of being more focused with its theming when it comes to non-main villains, especially the Hitman team. Yeah, Mr. Light, I largely agree with that. I think a lot of the criticisms I had about Part 5 also apply to Part 3. I think the reason I like Part 3 more than Part 5, though, is A, because a lot of just the stands and a lot of the battles, probably because they were newer and like more of a fresher idea. And also, I mean, Araki was also still like figuring it out, but there were some really funny parts about Part 3. I think Part 3, I mean, I think we can all agree that Part 3 is just more memeable than everything else combined. It's just so memeable and it's so genuinely flawed and unapologetic about it. And I think ironically, in part 5 being a better story and being like better written actually suffers more from it because it's not as like humorously ridiculous as part 3 was. So I think I give part 3 more grace and I like it more, partially because the final part of part 3, obviously the Dio bit, was just so phenomenal, but because part 5 kind of wades into that middle ground where I just don't really like it that much. Part 3 just had a lot of crazy stuff that leads me to like it more, though I do agree with what you're saying with the pacing and with, like I said, the dissonance of the show is like urgent, the story is urgent, but Araki likes his like episodic nature of the stand battles. Part 3 suffers from that arguably more than part 5 because like it's actually urgent, right? And like there's all these different obstacles that are like kind of unnecessary to deal with, whereas part 5 we're actually defending, it's an escort quest, right? So a lot of the episodic nature are fighting the people who are trying to attack the escort. So fundamentally part 5 makes more sense than part 3 with its nature. I just happen to like part 3 better because I think the execution of it was just kind of better, ironically, in being slightly worse. And looks like Retro Capital headed out. All right. Hope you have a great one. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Hope you look forward to seeing the rest of it as you get into the more positive side. And ironically, probably the more we're probably going to get into the more contentious stuff as I get into the higher parts of my list, because there are some shows that this is, I think, where things are going to get really interesting, because it's one thing for me to have like shows that are really good that are rated low, like Parasite and part 5, JoJo's part 5. It's another thing entirely once I start presenting shows higher rated than good shows that I just like more, that affected me more. Like especially when we get to Class, Assassination Classroom, I think you guys are going to love that. But due to the way I've formatted my list, I think these are going to get a lot more spicy as I get to, ironically, the less negative stuff as I start talking positive about these shows. I think you'll find a lot more contention there, just explicitly in the delineation of these different things, of comparing these different shows. And also, that's where I'll have to reiterate the fact that I am not rating these. And if you're new here and you didn't see my initial spiel, I'm going through my anime list, my like a little over 100 shows. I'm not rating them on any sort of objective scale, and I'm not deluding myself into subjective objectivity. I'm mainly organizing it on the rankings of how much it affected me, how much it impacted me, and basically offering my unique, literally one of a kind, subjective opinion on it, because I think that's the most valuable thing I can offer, is how it affected me, knowing what kind of person I am through like my content. Old Joseph is peak Joseph, minus the cheating. Every Joseph is peak Joseph, Mr. Light. Joseph is just peak Joseph. But yeah, old Joseph does hit different. And yeah, it's a matter of taste in the end of the day. Ooh, I would love to see you in Discord. Your current hardware isn't ideal for that yet. Yeah, I'm on some Unknown's boat. I'm not sure quite what you mean when you say your hardware isn't ideal for joining Discord. I assume you mean like what you want to do on Discord, but yeah, you should definitely join. We'd love to have you there. You can never have too many people in the IPPC, and you're definitely a strong Paragraph committee member. So all that's left is to make it official. We'd love to have you in there. There's some crazy conversations on them. Some productive, some less productive, but all equally valuable in their own way. Waiting to have a PC. Okay. I mean, like I said, I don't. You can join on your phone even if you want. Since it's just a messaging platform, at least how we're doing it now, then obviously it's up to you at the end of the day. But I think I speak for everyone, and it seems like I'm speaking for everyone here, where we would love to have you on there. It would be an absolute blast. And you can see the absolute unhinged shenanigans that go on in there. It's very unhinged, more often than not. More often my fault, but I take that with pride. I am so hyped over Chainsaw Man 2. That season will adapt what I think is the peak of all the manga as a whole. It just blows it off the records. Well, Max Godard, way to just build up anticipation for it even more. Chainsaw Man Season 2 has a lot to live up for. There is Season 1 is phenomenal, obviously, and the movie blew that one out of the water. So if Season 2 is going to be even better than those two, and we're just going to have like an Attack on Titan style snowballing effect, then I don't think I'm ready for that, because what it already has is so good. It's probably going to jump up my rankings if Season 2 is really that good. And I have reason to believe it is. I'm not just going to take your word at it. I hear a lot of people saying really good things, so I'm kind of terrified, but I'm excited for it. I don't know how many people read fantasy here. Maybe I'm just throwing references in the air. Yeah, things like Mistborn, I don't know what that is. I don't read a whole lot of fantasy. I write more than I read. I would like to read more, but yeah, I'm kind of with Unknown, throwing it into Infinite Void. It's being received, but it's not really being processed. And that's my own fault for being an illiterate fool. Some counterproductive, say it! Absolutely not, Max Godard. Nothing that we have in the Discord is counterproductive, except maybe that ridiculous comment about squirrels. That was kind of counterproductive. But none of it's counterproductive. It's all productive in different directions, right? Just like how you can't move negative distance, you can't have counterproductive conversations in the IPPC. It's just not physically possible. We already have some good internal memes too, I think. Like the redacted files and mind blowers that Adery can't read. Yes, we have our own files that need to be released. I just like scrolled through it and it was just like page after page of just blacked out text hidden by spoilers. I just didn't click on it. And I think even after the point where it like no longer is a spoiler for me, I'm never gonna go back and read it, because it's so much funnier as redacted files. And yeah, Unknown's pointing out the elephant in the room. For those of you who are watching and were waiting for the red button, blue button discussion, I did decide to push it off until next week, largely because, well, I thought this would be a shorter stream. Turns out it's over 2 hours. Who's surprised here? But I wanted to save it for a time when I was more prepared. I want to like actually have a visual ready for it, so I can present my argument like in a better fashion, present all the sides of it in a better way. It's something I really want to talk about, so I want to do it right. So that's why I decided to do this one instead of the red button, blue button, because I'm not as worried about doing this one right. It's just about my anime list, so I can just kind of wing it a lot better. Ken Jackery, the Discord server message is leaked. Max Godard, we have to blow up the earth. Oh, well, I mean, it could be worse, right? It could be on Signal. And with that, we're going to move on into the 7 ratings. Now, I think this one is the largest section, or it might be the 8s. 7 was where things get really interesting, because 7 are shows that are like really solid in my perspective. And I just knocked something. Okay, good. It's still recording. I just had to make sure. So 7 is where things get like, this is a good show. I genuinely enjoyed it. It's just there are negatives to it that kind of pushed it down for me. So I mentioned that like 6 and 5 were where 6 was where I started being like the good overweigh the bad. 7 is like, it's trying to reach escape velocity to being like a masterpiece, but there's a little bit too much weighing it down, but it's still like overwhelmingly good. And 7 is also basically the last section where I have basically anything bad to say about these shows, and you'll see why afterwards, because this really is a snowballing effect from here with 8, 9, and 10 rankings. We'll get there though. For now, 7. First of all, Natsume Yujincho. This is a show that Yujincho, sorry, that was horrible pronunciation. Natsume's Book of Friends is a really, really good, comfortable, great moral, great for like younger audiences anime. odds are you probably haven't seen it. I'm gonna be super surprised if I look at the comments and see everyone talking about Natsume Yujincho. But it's a really comfortable, fun show. I absolutely adore it. And it's just super, super solid. This is almost like 6 plus plus, where it's just a comfortable 7. Angel Beats is difficult. It's a incredible show. I just think it could have been better, and it's slightly weighed down by, I think, it being a little too fast. I wish it were like a little bit longer and a little bit more focused. Ironically, those two kind of contradict each other, but it just doesn't have that special something to me to make it like higher than a 7. But it's really good. I have very little bad things to say about Angel Beats, so it's a happy 7. Oh, I'm not going to read this name. Okay, maybe. あの日見た花の名前を僕たちはまだ知らない。Anohana. If you haven't watched it, watch it. If you have watched it, I think the tissues are in the next room over. This is a really emotional show. It's a really solid show. I want to rate it higher because of the emotional impact, but I don't remember enough about like the earlier parts of the show to really say much about it. So it's kind of weighed down by not being memorable enough like throughout its runtime. It had a really great reveal and a really great twist and just a really good story overall, but it's just slightly weighed down by little things like that. Mirai Nikki Future Diary, it's incredibly contentious. It's kind of like a Kami ga Kill. I like it probably more than I should, but it was super solid throughout, so it's a 7. Same with Nanan Biori, a lot less contentious, just super comfortable. Slice of Life doesn't quite seem to do it justice as a description. It's a country slice of life, if you would, and it's just the most comfortable. Just if you just need to feel good, like after a long day of work, put on Nanan Biori, you'll feel better in no time. And here is where we get to what I was talking about with Mr. Light. Part 3, Stardust Crusaders. I have it slightly rated above Part 5, as you can see, not a whole lot higher. Because, yeah, it suffers a lot. It's higher mainly just because of Dio and because of all the meme-worthy stuff about it, but it also is weighed down by its clash between urgency and the episodic formula, and you can really tell with a lot of it, Araki was trying to figure out how the stand thing works, because obviously it's the part that introduced it, right? But it's still really solid, so it gets a happy 7 for me. On to one of the most disappointing anime on this list, Seven Deadly Sins. Nanatsu no Taizai is a show that exists. Particularly after season 2, it exists. It exists especially. Before season 2, and like season 2 as well, especially season 1, it does a lot more than exist. It is really, really good. And it's a really great, unusual lens to see like a power fantasy. And it's just got so much fun and so much character that if I were, this is one of the shows that like, if I were ranking each season, it would probably have the largest variation. If I'd only watched season 1, it would probably be an 8, maybe even a 9. If I'd watched season 1 and 2, which I do, it's a 7. If I watched seasons 1, 2, and 3, it would probably go down to a 6. If I suffered through season 4, probably down to a 5. And it's just kind of that show. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it if you're in the anime community and you take part in memes. Anything past season 3 gets memed to all hell because, yeah, it was One Punch Man season 3 before One Punch Man season 3 was even conceived. It's a tragedy, but thankfully I've only seen the first 2 seasons, so I get to rank it a comfortable 7 because I did not watch the part where it completely falls off. Now, I don't actually know if the story falls off at all. I've heard conflicting things. I haven't read the manga. Maybe I will one day. I would not be opposed to it though, because from like the little snippets I've seen and like from watching the openings and like hearing the songs, it sounds like it's got a pretty solid story to tell. Maybe just the adaptation was bad. So I wouldn't be opposed to reading the manga, but as it is, it's a 7. For this one, Face Day Night, Heaven's Feel. It's listed as 1, but this is really for the whole Heaven's Feel arc, all 3 movies. Really solid. It was a bit too rushed, which is why I wish I could rate it higher, but I have to just give it a 7 because it's just a bit too rushed. But the actual like animation of it, and the adaptation, and like the story of it is beautiful. It's haunting. It's horrific, but it's beautiful. I just wish I could rate it higher. I wish that they didn't feel like they had to adapt it in the 3 movies for whatever reasons they did it. I wish they could have taken their time more with it, and I think it would have been a lot better. Seraph of the End is a show that, like, the quality of it wants to bring it down, but the impact it's had on my life and like on my stories is kind of pulling it up. So it's kind of in the middle of a tug of war game. So I just kind of put it as a 7 because this is probably the best example on this list of if AOT season 1 were character focused. It takes a lot of really like kind of bland and vaguely interesting ideas and then executes on them like brilliantly. If it were longer than 1 season, 2 cores, it would probably be even higher rated. Unfortunately, it does suffer from certain things, mainly how it stopped before it got ahead, so it's kind of stuck at a 7. I wish I could rate it higher though. Okay. These are 2 of the hardest ones I had to rank. And I'm going to have to ask my brother to cover his ears for this one because Koe no Katachi, Silent Voice, is rated a 7. My brother's right over there. I don't remember. I think we watched it together, actually. It's a really, really good movie that for some reason just did not speak to me like at all. And like, it was emotional and I was affected by it, but I kind of feel neutral about it. I want to rate it higher. I desperately want to rate it higher. It just kind of falls flat on me, and I don't know why. I could not tell you why. Maybe I should rewatch it again. Maybe I was just in a bad mood when I watched it, but it's just kind of whatever. So I'm giving it a 7 honorary because it's a really, really phenomenal movie, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's just I personally didn't really feel too much when watching it, which is a real shame because I know it's a really good movie. I guess no accounting for tastes, right? On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I'm gonna have to leave this one super short because I could make an entire separate stream about Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is the greatest, worst, most exciting, most disappointing. It is the most everything show on this list. All the good, all the bad, and all the mid. I have too much to say about it. I have to just move on. I have to save Demon Slayer for another time because this stream is already long enough already. But if you don't know, I actually have a video essay on my channel. It's an anime video essay, and it's the only one that I have on my channel right now. I want to make more in the future. I just haven't had the time. But the first and only video essay on my channel is about Demon Slayer. It's about the Mugen Train movie, especially. So check that out if you want to see a lot of my thoughts on Demon Slayer. I can't get into it here, though, because it's just too much. I need to move on from this stream before too long. It's already running on longer than I thought, and Demon Slayer would just push it way beyond there. Fate Grand Order Babylonia, adaptation of the 7th Singularity in the actual game. It's a really good adaptation. Could be better, could be worse. Solid 7. Tonikaku Kawaii. Tonikawa is a really good show. I really want to watch season 2. I know it came out. I just never got around to it. But it just isn't excellent enough for me to rate it higher than a 7, in my opinion. And same thing with Shadow's House. Really good, just lacks that special something. Aharen-san is one of the few shows of like those sort of like episodic, like the 4-panel, like gag anime manga that was adapted, that one of the few ones that is better than Takagi-san in my perspective. I really enjoyed it. It was super wholesome and super fun, and a lot of the jokes landed like perfectly. So that's why this is a very rare like slice of life that is at a 7 or higher. So we're gonna move on to the 8s here. As you can see, 8 is pretty long. 9's also pretty long. We'll move on to that in just a second. I need to give my voice a little break and see what people are thinking first, though. Some known just really milking the domain expansion infinite void meme. I'll let it slide because it's funny, but you need to control yourself, sir. You should announce new reactions in the server too. Yeah, my goal is to move more and more of the things I put on posts on YouTube onto the Discord and like have like the announcements like I did for the stream. But obviously my Discord is kind of small right now, a fraction of my audience is in it. So that's kind of the end goal for it. But as of right now, it's just kind of an extra place and a place you can reach out to me a lot easier. But eventually, as it gets more people, then yeah, I would love to announce new reactions, maybe and post polls on there and be able to do a lot more stuff like interact with the community as it becomes like the full community. In the meantime, though, as it's fairly small, uh, yeah, it's a one day. It's a one day. There's a lot of cool ideas I have with the server, but right now it's still in its early stages, so you guys get to enjoy it while it's largely quiet and kind of small scale. Ooh, Max Godard. Never watched Angel Beats, but I did watch Charlotte. We'll get to Charlotte. We'll get there. Don't you worry about a thing. Some known watched Angel Beats, almost cried, learned the OP on piano. Absolutely. If there's one thing you want to take from Angel Beats, it's the OP. If there's nothing you want to take away from it, it's the rest of the show. Honestly, I don't know why it's not rated higher for me. I might have to fix that because it's just a really great show and it's so emotional. It really hits the heartstrings for like practically everybody. And on the topic of hitting heartstrings, Axe, calls it out. A silent voice at 7 is probably the lowest I've seen it rated by most people. I mean, I've explained my take on it. I wish I could rate it higher. I really wish I do. But I just can't, and I don't really know why. Probably some of my favorite Kensuke Ushio tracks. Oh, really? Kensuke Ushio also did Silent Voice. Interesting. I mean, I do remember he had good music, so I guess that's hardly surprising, but and he's also just really great with his emotional tracks. So that, pardon the pun, that tracks. Oh, poor Unknown. I just drained him of all his soul with 7 Deadly Sins. It's the only anime my dad ever watched for some reason. I have several issues with it, but I haven't the energy to go through it now. That's fair enough. That's absolutely fair. I think it's very hard to not have much of an opinion on 7 Deadly Sins if you've like watched it or read it. You either really like it or you don't really like it. Or you're like me and you're horribly disappointed by what kind of abomination it became, at least with the adaptation. Ooh, but it looks like Max Godard actually followed it through the manga. So do let me know. Is it actually like is most of the critiques about it a result of the adaptation? I know some of it is. Or would you say like the manga actually like kind of sticks to landing and follows through? Because season 1 was really good. I think it lost a lot of momentum when it stopped being like almost an anti-power fantasy and it just had us exploring and finding these overpowered prior main characters. But I think once it started playing it straight and we actually introduced antagonists and the 7 Deadly Sins like became just regular protagonists, it lost a lot of interest for me. But I'm really curious if the manga is actually like worth reading through to the end, or if it's not just the anime adaptation that caused it to fall off. I've heard the spin-off of 7 Deadly Sins is better. I've not heard much about that actually. Honestly, have the exact opposite opinion of Demon Slayer. To me, it's very nothing. It just streamlines somewhat good shonen. Isn't bad. It would be hard for it to be. So yeah, Unknown. I don't know if you've seen my video essay on it. I touched on it a little bit, but I'll definitely have to talk more about this at length. I have excessive opinions about Demon Slayer, a ridiculous amount. But despite that, I kind of agree with you. There is a lot of nothing. It's just, in my case, I have a lot to say about its nothing. Because to me, Demon Slayer is the ultimate missed opportunity. The ultimate, I wish the author could have given me the story and I could have written it. Because now I don't want to copy it. I don't want to use its ideas for fear of people saying, oh, it's just like Demon Slayer. But it has a lot of ideas I want to execute on better. Which I guess kind of is how a writer should be. since all stories are derivative of others, I should just kind of own it. I am taking a lot of ideas from Demon Slayer because I think in a better story, there are some genuinely brilliant things about Demon Slayer. It's just the actual execution of it. It's just kind of meh. I realize that for how many shows I've heard about, I haven't actually watched a lot of them. Mr. Light, that's absolutely fair. And it's not something you should feel like you need to correct. Honestly, looking at this list, like I'm sure 100 is fairly small for most people who are like big anime fans. But realistically, like there's so much in this world to do other than watch anime. That's why I'm not really watching a whole lot anymore, other than I'm really only watching through this channel. Because I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of content with my catalog of anime. There's certainly better ones I could watch, but I'd rather spend that time doing other stuff. The exception, of course, being now that I have this channel and there's a lot more value to get out of anime, I'm more happy resuming watching it because now I can do something else with it. Some known, I have perfect self-control. I only do stuff when it's funny. I'll have you know, prepares another infinite void. A silent voice, many times greater than my name. Yeah, that's the comparison most people make, Max. I assume you're referring to Your Name. I actually like Your Name better, and I'm going to fully own up to the fact that this is just a bad opinion. I like My Name better. It's going to be higher on my list, so trigger warning ahead of time. It just spoke to me more. And like I know what you're going to say, and you won't be necessarily wrong in saying it. It's the more generic answer. Your Name is a lot more like it's a lot more obvious. It's a lot more like catering to public opinion and like built to be enjoyable and like designed to be easily processed and to be more appealing. That's what I was looking for to larger groups of people. But I don't want that awareness to stop me from being honest with the fact that I keep reading that. Your Name just hit me a lot harder, and I found it a lot more, not more emotional than A Silent Voice, but it just resonated with me more. Okay, the only real problem I have with Seven Deadly Sins is the very last arc. Until then, I think it's really great. Anime adaptation is bullshit starting from season 3. Four Nights of the Apocalypse is overall better. Okay, interesting. Okay, Four Nights of the Apocalypse is the spin-off. Okay, so it sounds like the manga for the large part is a lot better than the anime does. Other than sounds like the last arc. Cool, so maybe I will have to put that on my read list, I suppose. Crossing fingers is also a childish way to show that a character's lying. Yeah, I know some known, but I'm just taking it to be the hand motions that you've been gesturing at us this entire time. Hax loves both movies for different reasons, but I slightly prefer Silent Voice. Again, totally fair. I think when it comes to like actually being like movies and works of art, Silent Voice is going to minimal subjective levels better than Your Name. Your Name just spoke to me better for a lot of different reasons. Crazy that they both released in the same year as 2016. Yeah, and that's where a lot of the comparisons come from, right? And a lot of not unjustifiably salty people that Your Name got all the publicity instead of Silent Voice. I think when it comes to like popular perspective and like when it comes to which I would rather have more people watch, despite Your Name speaking to me more, I would say A Silent Voice. I think it has, despite its name, a lot more to say, and I think it's a more impressive work of art. Again, Your Name spoke to me more, and that's just all it is, all there is to it, I suppose. Maybe one day when I get better at my voicing my opinions and like understanding how I feel about shows, I'll be able to elaborate better on that, but that's all I got right now. Alex is asking, is there a series that has made you cry for any reason or situation, whether from joy or sadness? So, not really. I think in the past there were. I couldn't tell you which ones because my memory is just really bad. But at a certain point, I think I kind of stopped being able to cry watching anime and watching shows. for the most part. Actually, there is one exception to that, and you are going to love this. And I think Sumdone is especially going to love this. The only anime in recent memory, and I think one of the only anime like in memory that has made me cry is actually Demon Slayer, believe it or not. I won't spoil it because it's in the latest movie, The Infinity Castle Part 1, but the way that Akaza's final scenes in the movie play out actually brought physical tears to my eyes. And it actually caught me off guard to the point where after the movie ended, I had to walk around for like over an hour and just process it and like double back on myself and be like, why are you crying from this? It completely snuck up on me. But that is something that almost never happens. I almost never cry like watching shows. So I hate to say it, as a reaction channel, you're not going to see many moments where you see tears rolling down my eyes. I otherwise generally tend to go internally when I watch anime, especially as we'll get to the higher ranking stuff when we get to Clannad. I tend to get internal and I just kind of like shut down. I mean, if you've seen my Reze Arc reactions, if you haven't watched that, it's my most viewed, my most popular show on my channel. Watch my Reze Arc reactions. You'll see what I mean when I say I shut down when I get upset. But I don't cry very much, unfortunately. I kind of wish I cried more. But yeah, more often than not, you will see me shut down. And I think everyone here has seen my JJK reactions. I mean, JJK season. I have someone in the room who hasn't seen all of it. That episode in season 2, you know which one. That one kind of made me shut down. Oh, actually, Mr. Light brings up a great point. I mostly tear up on rewatch personally. I came really close with 2 series recently. I agree with that. I think I'm actually more likely to tear up on a rewatch than initial watch. And I think most of that is due to a different, like, coming back to it with more appreciation and not being, like, as surprised by it. I think maybe it's letting it sit results in it, I don't know, affecting me more or just making me cry. But one thing that does make me cry on a lot of rewatches is, God, I'm sounding so basic here, Demon Slayer again. But again, it's the movie, not Infinity Castle, but Infinity Train, Mugen Train. Mugen Train made me tear up on rewatches more than every other show combined, I think. Again, I talk about that in my video essay. See, watch that if you haven't already. If you have watched it, watch it again. I'm really proud of it, but it actually does, and Rengoku specifically does. And I can't explain it any better than I do in that video, so watch that video if you haven't. That's not self-promotion. It's a video I'm genuinely proud of, and I think I'm really happy with, so check it out if you want to see my full thoughts on it. I can't elaborate better than there. I don't elaborate very well there either, but yeah, exactly, Sumdone. Goddamn Demon Slayer! Stealing away my favorite reactor. Well, for what it's worth, you won't see many of my reactions to the final movies on here because I'm watching this in theaters. I'm not worrying about that. So don't worry, you won't ever see any reactions of Demon Slayer on my channel, probably. Because all that's left of the movies I'm going to be watching in theaters. Yeah, feeling and knowing the characters helps a lot with early moments. True, yeah. When you're rewatching earlier seasons, now that you have the added context, it can hit a lot harder. Okay. We're almost coming up on 3 hours. I was not ready for this to be a 3-hour stream, so we're getting to the higher points here, and I'm going to start speeding through this even more. So these are my 8s. 8s, 9s, and 10s, I have to kind of explain all of them together. And this is why. I'll actually have to explain that backwards. My 10 ratings are an exclusive private club. I only ever will and only ever have had 10 shows on my 10 out of 10 rankings. And I'm keeping it that way intentionally. The 10 is saved exclusively for my top 10 shows. Unfortunately, I don't know how to organize the ratings here, so they're not organized like... Excuse me. They're not organized in terms of like an actual order of like my favorite shows of the top 10. They're just kind of in whatever order Mal put them in. But 10s are the exclusive club, the top of the top, the most impactful shows I've ever watched. The reason I have to explain that one first is because 9s are honorary 10s. So when we get to 9s, you can basically read those as masterpieces, as things I have basically nothing bad to say. They just were not good enough to overcome the limits of, they weren't enough to push into the top 10. And then finally, 8s are basically honorary 9s. They're just not quite, they don't have a special something that leads me to consider it a masterpiece as a 9 would. So those are my 8s, 9s, and 10s. I've got like 40 to get through, and you know what? I think I'm actually going to cut this off here. A lot of people are coming home, so it's getting a little bit louder. I hate to leave you guys on a cliffhangers. I will have to do this, I think, in the next stream. We'll do the 8s, 9s, and 10s, and then maybe we'll do the red button, blue button. I don't know. But at this rate, maybe that one will be a full stream on its own. So I hate to leave you guys off on a cliffhanger to see my best of the best, but I'm going to leave it off here. I am going to like scroll through it really quickly. I'll leave the link in here if you want to see it, but here's basically what we're going to be talking about next week. And we'll have to get to that when we get to that. And yeah, that's basically it. There's only 107 of them, so it'll probably just be the start of the next stream. We'll be talking about that stuff, and that's basically just how we're going to do it. So, you're good. So yeah, we're pretty much going to cut this off here. Usually emotional scenes need build up. When you already have them while watching the whole thing, everything can hit. Very true, Unknown. I agree with that. I thought I lost my capacity for tears as well until JJK episode 3, episode 9. Okay, Max Godard. Way to build up my excitement for that one. Uh-oh. I'm gonna... God, don't tell me season 3 is gonna hit me. I mean, I guess to be fair, it's had a lot of build up so far, so it hasn't really... There haven't been any episodes that really hit quite as hard as seasons 2 or 1, or really just season 2, but I guess there's only a matter of time until season 3 hits hard, but we'll see. 9s and 10s that weren't lucky enough to be part of something impacted you is how I would put it. Yeah, 9s or 10s that... Yeah, 9s are just honorary 10s. They're ones that weren't able to make it into the top 10. I remember being really hyped about Infinity Train and Entertainment District and being really hyped. Then I watched the movie in season 2 and felt nothing. It was really weird. Huh. Yeah. Something about the Demon Slayer just tells me nothing. That's interesting. I think what I might do for the next stream is I will go through my 8s, 9s, and 10s, and then I will talk more about Demon Slayer because I do have a lot to say about it. I'll tell everyone to watch the... I'll tell everyone to watch my video about it beforehand just so you can get my main thoughts on it, but I have a lot to say about it, so honestly, I think that will take most of the stream on its own. So yeah, I'll probably do that for the next one too, because there is a lot of I want to say about it, and ironically, that's despite the fact that there's a lot of nothing about it. I think I don't disagree with you. I'm not gonna argue with you about that at all. There's just too much to talk about, so those will probably be the 2 main topics for the next stream, I think. Mr. Light, oh no, more content to look forward to. I know. Disgusting. He's become this thing he swore to destroy, splitting things up into a 2-parter for content, milking it for everything it's worth. I mean, I think it's kind of my bad. I don't know why I thought I'd get through 100 shows in like 3 hours, especially in the IPPC. I should have managed my expectations better, but that's kind of the fun of it, right? These things end up dragging on way longer than we thought they would, and that's just my nut. If that isn't my channel in a nutshell, I don't know what is. Yes, Unknown. I look forward to reading that haiku. Understand it's not serious. Very well. All right. Good night, Unknown. And I guess that with that, I'll sign off for everyone. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. This was a little bit of a more off-the-cuff stream. Next one will be as well. For live directed 8, 9, 10 rather than 10 and red button, blue button. Argument makes me angrier than thoughtful. Yeah, that's why I need to talk about it, Max Godard. I'll do it more later, but we need to talk about red button, blue button because it's fascinating in its own way. But that's neither here nor there. I think it's fair if it makes you angry, but it's that in and of itself that makes me want to discuss it. Okay, so thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you're looking forward to the next one. Go ahead and check out my Discord if you haven't already. There's some really fun stuff in it. And there's some really unhinged stuff as well, which is also fun stuff. But yeah, I hope to see you there. It's through my Patreon, but it is for free members. And check that out if you haven't already, if you're interested. But with all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching. That's the most important part. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. But until then, have a lovely rest of your day.